Meeting called to order. Please join me in the prayers. Dear God, today as this session opens, we pray that your presence will be before us and everyone who serves in the decision-making process of our city. We pray for your direction, which will lead our city to be strong and unified. May we continue the legacy of our founders. May we be granted this day the wisdom to make decisions which will be for the good of our city. We also pray for your special blessings on all those who are working to transform our city and make it a better place to live and work. Amen. Please join me in allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mr. Clerk, roll call, please.
Mayor Chow.
Here.
Council Drinkwater.
Here.
Council Gitchia.
Here.
Council Janess.
Here.
Council Leahy.
Here.
Council Mercier.
Here.
Council Noon.
Here.
Council Robinson.
Here.
Council Rourke.
Here.
Council Scott.
Here.
Council Yem.
Here.
11 present.
Any memorials? Councilor Janess.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to offer a moment of silence in darkened chambers for Lisa Marie Rudy, 54, of Lowell, who passed away after lengthy illness on Sunday, April 2nd at her home. She was born in Lowell on June 2nd, 1968, was the daughter of George E. Rudy of Lowell and Gertrude Gignac Cohen of Chelmsford. She was raised in Lowell, where she attended the area schools. Lisa was a longtime resident of the Highlands, where she made her paradise on Foster Street. Lisa loved flowers and enjoyed gardening, making candles, and spending time at the beach or hanging out poolside. Above all else, she cherished time spent with her family, especially her children. Lisa is survived by 2 daughters, Daniel Raleigh and her husband John of Lowell, and Gabrielle Rudy, also of Lowell. Her siblings Robert, Christine, Derek, and Ashley. Lisa is also survived by many nieces and nephews, including former school committee member Robert Gignac. She'll be missed. Thank you.
Any other memorials? Councilor Robinson.
Thank you. Mr. William Willie L. Doby passed away peacefully at his Arizona home the evening of February 12, 2023. He is survived by his 3 children, William Ryan, Sabrina Ryan, and Derek Ryan, his brother Bang Doby, his sister Gail Bailey, and his grandchildren, AJ, Malik, Helena, Journey, Jada, Bailey, Logan, and Xavier, and many nieces and nephews. William, or Willie, touched the lives of many people throughout his 16-year tenure as a security guard at Lowell High School. I'd like darkened chambers and a moment of silence, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Any other memorials or moment of silence? Mr. Clerk, please dim the light. Good evening. I'd like to welcome everyone who are here in the chamber to the meeting, and also want to welcome everyone watching us at home. We now start the meeting. We'll begin with the mayor's business. 2.1 is the communication remote Zoom participation. Need a motion to accept and place on file by Councilor Janess, second by Councilor Drinkwater. All in favor? Motion is passed. The next part is that the citations. This is the area of the meeting that we recognize people in our community that contribute in various ways to make our community exciting and fun to live in. The first citation is going to the DYI Chili and Stew Contest Award that was held about 3 weeks ago. And I can tell you all the participants, all the chefs, they were all great. By the end, one didn't take the cake away, but one took the soup away. And they won, and this is going to the CTI Youth Build Culinary Program. And here to accept the award on behalf of the program is Ms. Anna Jabbar. So I'm going to read the citation in your honor first. Official citation. Be it hereby known to all that the City of Lowell in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts hereby offers its sincerest congratulations to CTI Youth Build Culinary Program upon winning DIY Professional Division of Chili and Stew Contest with turkey and white bean chili. That was delicious. Community Chili Night is DIY Lowell's annual chili and stew contest. Their goal is to build community in Lowell by bringing together young people and elders, downtown and neighborhoods, townies and newcomers. This annual fundraiser celebrates the project and events that have activated our underused spaces, brought diverse populations together, and made Lowell better. Now, therefore, I, Mayor Sakai Chow, on behalf of the entire City Council and residents of Lowell, hereby thank you for your participation in this important community event and congratulate you on receiving this designation signed by myself and the entire City Council. Congratulations. I know Councilor Nguyen was there that night too. He can attest and witness that the soup was just fantastic.
Thank you. And this
Mr.
is
Barr?
thank you, Mayor. Thank you, everybody. This is an extra treat for us because we also won the Winterfest soup contest, and we weren't able to attend the ceremony, so this is fantastic. Thank you so much, Mayor. And really what I want to say is Youth Build is a workforce development program for young people, and that's the most important work we do. And in partnering with community events like the DIY Chili Contest, our youth get to be out in the community and show their skill set and meet people like you and others in the community who lift them up and encourage them, and we thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. The next citation is presented with a heavy heart, is presented posthumously. This individual, which Councilor Robinson presented a moment of silence earlier, is deserving of receiving this posthumously, and I believe his family is here in the chamber to accept this citation. I'm going to read it from up here, and this is prepared by my office, Councilor Robinson, and the councilors as well. Official citation. Be it hereby known to all that the City of Lowell in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts hereby offers its sincerest congratulations to William Doby. William Doby, also known as Willie or Big Willie to most, was born in Shelby, North Carolina, and raised in Lowell. Through his years working for the Wang Companies and Lowell High School, William would become a mainstay in many lives throughout the city. Working as a security guard for 16 years, William would work diligently to help inspire and change the lives of Lowell's youth, including his time spent as a softball coach at Lowell High School, where his passion for the sport would help inspire his players. Through his hard work and dedication to his community, William was able to touch the lives of countless individuals throughout the City of Lowell. Now, therefore, I, Mayor Sakai Chow, along with Councilor Robinson and the rest of the City Council, are honored to present this posthumous citation to his family, to you, from the entire city. My congratulations. Would you introduce yourself and say a few words as well?
My name's Willie Ryan, named after my dad, obviously. My brother, my sister Derek and Sabrina. First, I just want to say thank you to you guys. Thank you to Corey for reaching out. It means a tremendous amount to us because we got to watch him touch all the kids at Lowell High, as far as kids that wanted to leave and kids that wanted to drop out, but he kind of talked them through it, talked them into staying in school and getting their education, and then putting us into the spots that we are and pushing us through sports. So again, I just want to thank you guys very much. Very appreciated.
Thank you.
Yeah, okay. Now, need a motion to accept and place on file both motions by Councillor Yam, seconded by Councillor Robinson. All in favor, the motion is passed. We now continue with the city clerks. Next on the agenda, 3.1, Minutes of Neighborhood Subcommittee, April 3rd, Housing Subcommittee joint with Zoning Subcommittee, April 4th, City Council regular meeting, April 4th, for acceptance by Councillor Scott, second by Councillor Rourke. All in favor say aye, opposed say no. The ayes have it. Motion is carried. We now go to the next item on the agenda, number 3.2. This is a vote to cancel council meeting on April 18, 2023. I believe this is the school vacation week. Waive full reading, second reading by title. City of Lowell in the City Council vote to cancel council meeting of April 18, 2023. Need a motion to adopt by Councilor Leahy, second by Councilor Janess. Mr. Clerk, roll call, please.
Mayor Chow,
Yes.
Councilor Drinkwater,
Yes.
Councilor Getchia,
No.
Councilor Janess,
Yes.
Councilor Leahy,
Yes.
Councilor Mercia,
Yes.
Councilor Noon,
Yes.
Councilor Robinson,
Yes.
Councilor Rourke,
Yes.
Councilor Scott,
Yes.
Councilor Yem.
Yes.
10 yeas.
Next on the agenda are the public hearing for 7 o'clock. It's not 7 o'clock yet, so we'll skip that section over. We're going to cover the following items, which will be the communication from city manager. This is section 5 on the agenda. These are the motion response. We'll start with the alphabet A. This is a motion response regarding CLA HR, which is Human Resource Recommendation. The councilors support these motions were Councilor Janess, Councilor Gishi, and Councilor Nguyen. Who would like to go first?
There is a registered speaker, Mr. Mayor.
Go, Mr. Clerk, please have the registered speaker go
Bobby
first.
Tugabielli? I don't see him here. I don't see him on Zoom either, so.
The council, the maker of the motions, who would like to go first? Councilor Janess? Councilor
Sure.
Janess.
Thank you. First, I'd like to thank the administration for this report, but I had some questions. The first thing is the report mentions the 9 different points that have been addressed or have begun to be addressed, but there's no mention of the other 10 recommendations that were in the report from CLA back in 2021. Also, thank you for correcting me on the time frame. I had it in my brain as 2019 for some reason, but I'm just going to blame the pandemic diluting all sense of time in my brain. Some of the recommendations that have been addressed or listed in the report as being addressed are things that we seem to still be struggling with. The first one is recommendation number 1, which is hiring of the DEI officer. We've talked about that many times, so I'm not going to dig into that. But that is still something that's on the table, and I just wanted to note that. The second item was leveraging Munis for the applicant tracking system. And that has been implemented, to my understanding, and I'd like to understand a little better how that's going from the administration's point of view. So I don't know if you could talk about that a little bit. I'll pause there.
Mr. Manager?
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, and through to the council. Council, yes. Item number 1, we just this evening finished our second cohort of our DEI classes, and we have 6 scheduled concept classes for the remainder of our staff. So actually, I shouldn't say the remainder. Those 6 concept classes will not finish that. But my hope is in the next 30 to 45 days, every employee on the city side, excluding police and fire, they have their own right now with what they go through in trainings. Police definitely does. But at that point in time, when I say most employees, because we've had some new people come along in the past few months, most employees will have received DEI training. All of our department heads, the final was today, and I'm glad to report that they all passed. So that just happened. And like I said, the 6 scheduled concept classes, which will be for the remainder of the folks. In regards to the item number 2, the applicant tracking system, I can tell you from my perspective, the applicant tracking system is working. Myself and some of the team can see everything when people are applying. We're still having a little bit of a learning curve with people trying to upload some of their documents, so there's no question about that. But that is something that we are still working towards. I've done it myself. I was okay with it, but I do understand there are some folks that would not be. But our HR office invites people in to make sure that that is completed for them if they're, for whatever reason. We've had a whole bunch of folks that have had challenges with it, some with little to no computer skills, and some people with computer skills. So there has been some challenges on integrating, I guess, Munis with this. But I've gone through it myself, and I was lucky, I guess. Because, as you know, we've talked about this on a number of occasions. I'm not exactly the computer expert. So I hope that answers both of those questions.
Yeah, that gets to most of it. I do want to ask, though, are we using the applicant tracking system for all positions at this point? Or all positions except civil service, probably?
Mr. Manager?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, through to the council. Everyone who is applying, yes, with the exception of civil service. Police and fire are just done in a different manner.
Sure. I have heard feedback from folks who've told me that we aren't using this for our boards and commission openings. I don't know. I think we've talked about it a few times, and there's been some discussion. Yes, we're using it. No, we're not using it. But I do think it has benefit for those roles. So I hope that if we're not using it now, we expand to that in the future. Jumping ahead a little bit, one of the other recommendations that was touched on in this report is recommendation number 3 about being more inclusive in our advertisements for positions and in our communications with our employees. And the report basically has a blurb that is now on the job postings, which I appreciate that blurb is there, and I think it's important. But I think that doesn't necessarily meet the recommendation as it's worded in the CLA report. The recommendation reads, to start anyway, CLA recommends the city review the messaging it sends to its employees, prospective applicants, and the community about what makes Lowell a great place to work and its commitment to a diverse, equitable, and inclusive workforce and culture. And then it goes on from there to talk about the city website not really reflecting that. And I just want to ask, are we making any other efforts to address that recommendation, or is this change in the text on the job description it for now?
Mr. Manager?
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, through the council. Council, that particular piece that was implemented prior to, originally with the prior DEI employee, now that we are moving forward. And once again, going back to the 6 concept classes, we will be putting that forward as well. And I think many of the questions that you may have, if you want to go to recommendation 4, recommendation 5, which we can talk these through, we will be looking, that is when we hire our DEI new employee, we'll be tackling the other pieces throughout the report.
Okay, thank you. There are quite a few more. I don't want to go through each and every one of them because I do have questions on many of them. But I will say that this report, it feels incomplete because it doesn't address the other 10 items. And I'm also wondering if it's possible that we could stand up some kind of dashboard somewhere that shows these recommendations and then kind of addresses them, what we're doing for each one, just so that it's public and can be looked at, so the council understands, so the public understands. And at the end of the day, I just want to, kind of get your read on it with whether or not this report is still kind of the North Star for improving HR operations as we see fit, or if it's not. And I'm just a little curious about that, how you feel about it, and what we're going to be doing going forward to make sure that this isn't put in a drawer and forgotten about, basically.
Mr. Manager?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Councilor, for that. We do consider this as a work in progress. And once again, I've answered this to some of the folks who have been calling in regards to the DEI position. I think that it is vitally important that everybody here in the city, especially the department heads, get to that baseline. That I am very happy that Middlesex Community College has been is our major partner in this. And once again, with the other concept classes that we're pushing forward, I feel confident that everyone is now going to have that baseline approach. That's been my approach from the beginning, to make sure that we had folks that understood DEI completely, and then we had other folks that did not, subscribe or think about it really too much. So it's important that now all of our department heads, and I want to put almost all of our department heads, simply because of new folks, that we're all, what I would say, is on the same page with the same baseline where we can now continue to learn. It was just mentioned tonight in the graduation ceremony, if you would, that we're already looking at the 102 class, and that's just a second iteration, if you would, of DEI, with what I believe is a great partner, with the responses I received from the first cohort, the verbal discussions I received from our department heads in the second cohort, that they felt confident and they liked what was going on with Middlesex Community College. So at some point in time, I'm going to be coming back to the council to have this discussion. I like to call it the 201 class, but we'll go with what President Sisson was saying in the 102 class. And that's just to continue this. And I really do believe that our next step will be in hiring a DEI officer to implement these other pieces that I do agree with you haven't been done, but it would be something that I would be requesting and requiring that the DEI officer put into play. So the CLA report, for those that are listening, the Clifton Larson Allen report, currently right now is still a work in progress and will continue to be a work in progress. The City of Lowell, I've heard it loud and clear from the council, that this will be something that we will be visiting on a very regular basis, and it will not be going onto a shelf to collect dust.
Okay, I very much appreciate that, and I do want to acknowledge and say that I do appreciate the work that's being done with Middlesex Community College, and I think they are a great partner for the city, and I think that is adding a lot to this discussion and adding a lot to our policies and practices within the city. But obviously that does not obviate the need for a lot of these recommendations in here that talk about how we're actively recruiting and hiring and interviewing, et cetera, et cetera. So I would like to just make a motion to ask you to consider creating that public dashboard for all of these recommendations going forward, so that we can all kind of be on the same page here. I don't know if there's any support for that by my colleagues, but.
Motion by Councilor Jeanette, second by Councilor Leahy. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, say no. The ayes have it. Motion is carried. Any other comments from the maker of the motion on this motion response? Councilor Gishia?
Thank you, Mayor Chow. I also read the report, and I do have a couple of questions. On number 2, the tracking system also, it says that they track everything. Do we track turnover and also have exit interviews? I know in one of them it says the turnover is there, but number 2, it should be able to be tracked in Munis, but also just thinking, do we actually interview people on an exit interview when they leave?
Mr. Manager?
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, through to the council. Exit interviews have been happening, especially even from my perspective. There is one here that had a discussion about retaining employees as well. That has happened. That was one of the recommended highlights, and I can say that from my perspective, without getting, I believe it was recommendation number 12, I have had the opportunity to speak with folks who, quite frankly, ended up staying. I don't think I should get too deep into the HR strategy on that, but and the exit strategies, yes, when I can, and I know that I've instructed the department heads to ensure that there's an exit interview to see what's going on, which of course we could talk in very general terms, but in item number 12, it does talk about conducting stay interviews, and that has happened.
My concern is some are being treated one way when they leave and others aren't given the same opportunity. And I just wanted to see an SOP across the board so that every person is equal when they're leaving here, and we try to find out what the root cause of the issue is. But moving on throughout the memo, there are some highlights that you look at, and there's some things that I don't think were actually added to it. When you look at recommendation 7, it just says it's a draft version, so that's not completed, and I don't know why it's put in here as like a completed piece. It says utilizing existing resources such as LinkedIn Learning to create a more structured learning experience for employees. And this is draft version of LinkedIn Learning memo with information to be finalized and distributed to employees. So it's really not something that was completed, but it's on here as being done. And then, you know, when we highlight some things, I think number 8 in the report, I didn't think we gave ourselves enough credit for, because I've been in meetings where we talked about internships and trying to give people an opportunity from within and also from outside. So I think that should have been added. I don't know why number 8 wasn't something that we could have crossed off or at least started that conversation with, because I think everybody on the board here understands that we're trying to mentor people and trying to give those internships to actually grow. So I do think we started that, and that should have been included. Also, one of the ones that really strikes me after a 2-year report that's put forward, I think that when we look at this recommendation, it says CLA, it's number 19. CLA recommends the creation of an emergency action plan. At a minimum, an emergency action plan should contain procedures for reporting a fire or other emergencies, procedures for emergency evacuation, including type of evacuation and exit route assignments. I mean, these things should be in every office, telling people, okay, if there's an issue, here's the exit out the door. A procedure to be followed by staff who remain to oversee critical organizational operations before they evacuate. Procedure to account for all staff after evacuation. So I just think, and I won't continue reading the whole thing, but I think that's something that should have been a high priority, not a medium, when you're looking at exiting through. And maybe it's something that was started but isn't in this report again. So through you to the manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and through to the council. Council, yes. Number 8, recommendation number 8, I actually pulled that one back. We have not completed that. Most of the council knows that we are in the process of getting this to happen. So that's something that I felt as though needed to be a complete before we did it. But once again, as many of the councilors know, we are in the process of getting that done. In regards to recommendation 19, this is just this is static, obviously. When this is written, emergency management was just hired. Strike that. Was just offered. Let me just say we did go through the interview process. Let me strike that and move back. That the emergency management person was offered. So 19 would be a check mark if this report was being given in the next couple of weeks.
And then there's only one more for me, recommendation 17. Is there a standard operating procedure that's given to the department heads? Because I think that this should be a standardized procedure that goes across the board to all the department heads. And I think that we should probably send this to the Personnel Subcommittee for further review and keep it on the desk of the Personnel Subcommittee, because I think it's important that we keep talking about it, but I don't know if that this is really the forum for it, but I think it should go back there. Thank you.
I second that.
Okay, it's a motion by Councillor Gish, second by Councillor Nguyen. All in favor? Motion is passed. You all set, Councillor Gish? Councillor Nguyen?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Manager, for the report through you, Mr. Mayor, to the managers. I do echo a lot of stuff that my colleague, Councillor Janess and Councillor Gutierrez has mentioned. I think it is out of the 19 recommendations for a Clifton and Lawson report, there's only 9 actually has been trying to at least implement, and to some extent, Councillor Gutierrez has mentioned the city munis system. I'm concerned about the consistencies in terms of applying this in terms of the exit interviews and all that. So I hope that we can do better in that area. Report on, I'm sure when you get to the subcommittee on the personnel subcommittee, maybe look at how we implement what success, what success rate that is. The other concerns I have is as well as I know that you mentioned, Mr. Manager's number 19 with regard to the emergencies individuals that are being hired by I believe the fire department. So the policies, in each of the department should have a policies in terms of in case of an emergency. So that individual need to really working with the chief, the fire chief, and those who have understanding of this. I know that you have, I believe the report indicated it was 90 to 100 pages or something, but this individuals come in going to get a quick start on that. So I hope that some draft report can come up very soon on that. The other things too is that would you tell us where we at on the DEI officer's position? Thank you.
Mr. Manager?
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, through to the council. Councilor, correct. This is a work in progress, this entire document, and we do have a number of things that I think we could be happy about successes moving forward in the past. What I'll give it as probably the last 8 months, even though this has been here well before. But there is a lot of success, and there's more to come. The dashboard would be a great idea. Talking to the subcommittee about getting that to happen. The schedule, as far as DEI today being April 11th, my goal would be to have somebody hired by the end of May of this year. So once again, in having the opportunity to have all of our department heads, as well as I'm going to determine as a fair amount of our employees with a baseline knowledge, and then bringing somebody in. Middlesex Community College, I was talking to President Sisson just today about this again. We'll be meeting again to discuss this. I can't stress enough the collaboration and the discussion that the professors as well as the president has been in helping the city kind of move forward. And I believe that's been over, I would say, the last 7 months or probably 8 months. So I'm very happy with where the success is, but we definitely still have, not just 10 more things to do. So we will complete the 19, but then we need to continue to look forward to see what else needs to happen. So I think, I'm very, very happy with where we're going and very keenly aware of how much more work we still have to do.
One other thing, Mr. Mayor. So don't be shy in terms of trying to recruit or hiring these DEI officers using the expertise of MCC and others institutions that have DEI in place already. Understand that the hiring is your call to do so, but input of those individuals in terms of helping and during the interviews, this DEI certainly go a long way in terms of getting the right person for the right job. Thank you.
No other comments from the councilors. Mr. Clerk, I understand there's a speaker on Zoom.
Bobby Tugliali, he's spinning the joint right now. Looks like he's having trouble maybe getting in. Oh. There we go.
Mr. Clerk, were you able to make connection on Zoom?
Yeah, he's in.
Okay.
Bobby Tigbiali?
Hi, good evening. I apologize for the delay. Can you hear me pretty okay?
Yep, you're good.
Thank you. Bobby Tubiele of 33 Middle Street. I want to thank Councilor Janess, Councilor Getchier, and also Councilor Noon for bringing this topic back to the forefront of discussion. But also, I think it's important to also recognize that this motion really started back in, I believe, 2020 with a joint motion between Councilor Drinkwater and Councilor Noon to look in the to proceed in terms of an HR audit. So this is really a continuation of a lot of effort on multiple counselors' end. So thank you to all who've played a role over the last several years. I had a conversation with Councilor Janess recently, and just in terms of one word that he had mentioned in the last meeting, and just the word being reset. And what I shared with him was a certain sense of frustration in that every single time we do a reset of this issue, it's really perceived in the community as time wasted or missed opportunities and lost opportunities, I should say. And so I think over the last several years, as we've been talking about human resources audits, as we've been talking about hiring practices, we've seen some progress. Sometimes it seems one step forward, two steps back. And so I hope that starting from tonight, as we're discussing the CLA audit, the 19 recommendations, that we're going to have a lot more hands-on intent in moving these recommendations forward. Some thoughts on the motion are really centered around back in 2018, there was a similar motion by Councilor Noon to have human resources develop a report on workforce demographics. And that report was 2 pages. There was some quantitative, mostly qualitative data, but wasn't as involved as in terms of content as I think the conversation and the issue at hand deserved. If we look at the report tonight, specifically, there were some recommendations that were not factored into the report. There was some language that was not specific. Human resources is not an easy task. I've been in the role for many years. There's a lot of work that goes into it. So, I applaud the work that the team has done thus far. But, from my perspective, I think that how do we go from where we are to great? How do we improve and make sure that we're not just checking boxes, but that we're developing strategy and following through on that strategy. And so, I applaud everyone that have brought this issue back to the forefront. But let's not lose focus. Let's make sure that we're following through on these recommendations, not just for the benefit of counselors and their promises, but really ultimately this is for a healthier and a more supportive and productive workforce. Thank you so much.
Any other comments or questions from the council member? Councilor Getchier?
Thank you, Mayor Chow. Just one more question. Is the person from is the HR director here tonight? My question is, how realistic is it? Because I heard you say by the end of May, without it being posted right now, how realistic is it truly to get that position in place with, all the testing that has to go on for pre-employment and then get here by that time? Would it be next fiscal year, or would it be you're still shooting for the end of May? That's realistic? Okay.
Mr. Manager?
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, through to the council. Yes, Councilor, I am shooting for the end of May. And I do understand there might be, when you get into, I hate to medical or, taking that could cause problems, but I mean, I'm willing to, I think we as a city need to continue to move this forward. And as fast as I can do it, I will.
The only
I'm
reason why
I'm hoping the end of May.
The only reason why I say that is because I do this hiring process, and posting takes 2 weeks. People like to give 2 to 3 weeks notice, and then when you get into all these other things, getting doctor's appointments and everything else, it takes time. Thank you.
Okay, no other comments. We are past the 7 o'clock, which we should take up the public hearing. We will come back to the motion response after the public hearing. The public hearings in section 4 on the agenda. These are the utility public hearing. 4.1, Comcast Southern New England requests installation of 4-inch underground conduit for 600 Lakeview Avenue. This portion is now open to all those who are in favor. Open to those in favor. Are you speaking on this item? Please step forward.
Good evening, Dave Llewellyn, Comcast, 9 Forbes Road, Woburn, Mass. I'd like to speak in favor, excuse me. I'd like to speak in favor of the Comcast petition for Lakeview Ave to place 60 feet of conduit for the purpose of providing service to number 600 Lakeview Ave.
We now go to the next public hearing item, which is 4.2. Comcast Southern New England requests installation of 4-inch underground conduit from Kirk Street to Merrimack Street. This portion is now open to all those in favor. Are you here to speak in favor as well?
Yes.
Please continue.
Good evening, Dave Llewellyn, Comcast, 9 Forbes Road, Woburn, Massachusetts. I'd like to speak in favor of the Comcast petition to place conduit on Kirk Street for the purpose of providing service to number 169 Merrimack Street.
Anyone else here to speak in favor? Hearing none, this section is now closed. We're now open to all those who want to speak in opposition. Open to all those who oppose. Hearing none, this portion is now closed. Need a motion. Any comments by the councillor? Councillor Nguyen?
No, motion to approve.
Motion by Councillor Nguyen, second by Councillor Mosier, to refer to the ward inspector for report recommendation.
Yep, that's right.
All in favor, say aye. Opposed, say no. The ayes have it. Motion is carried. The next and the last public hearing is 4.3 on the agenda. Boston Gas DBA National Grid requests moving existing gas line to accommodate water work by the city of Lowell. This portion is open to those who are in favor.
Diane Cuddy.
Yes, good evening. Diana Cuddy, National Grid 170 Data Drive, Waltham, Massachusetts, and I'm here in favor of the petition. We are requesting a grant location to move part of our gas main on Varnum Ave to accommodate the city's water work project.
Thank you. Anyone else who speak in favor? Hearing none, this section is now closed. We're now open to all those who want to speak in opposition. Those who want to oppose, hearing none, this section is now closed. Any comments or questions by any council member? Hearing none, need a motion to refer to ward inspector for report recommendation by Councillor Yam, second by Councillor Jeunesse. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, say no. The ayes have it. Motion is carried. Thank you. That completes the public hearing. We now
Mr.
go
Mayor?
back. Councillor Jeunesse.
I'd like to make a motion to suspend the rules and take item 9.4 out of order. My understanding is we have several people here to speak on that this evening.
Motion by Councillor Jeunesse to take item 9.4 out of order, second by Councillor Drinkwater. 9.4 is a miscellaneous item. Joseph Boy, citizens request changes to Lowell unhoused persons liaison protocol. Mr. Clerk, please call the registered speaker.
I believe the petition is here, Mr. Boyle.
Mr. Mayor, councilors, Mr. Manager, city staff, and my fellow Llewellians. Thank you for allowing us to address you tonight on an issue of great importance. My name is Joseph Boyle, and I live at 54 Laura Street in the Highlands. We're here tonight representing a coalition of residents and groups organized by Solidarity Lowell. Out of respect for the volume of business the council has before it, we've endeavored to limit our number of speakers. You don't need to hear 50 people come up and tell you the same thing. Nonetheless, I'd like to recognize our, at last count, 145 signatories, many of whom represent organizations of stature in our community who signed on to this petition because they want the city of Lowell to ensure humane treatment of unhoused people in our city. Lowell has in many ways been a generous and enlightened community in its approach to homeless issues. In areas like affordable housing production and shelter beds provided, Lowell has done far more than the communities around us. The camp sweeps of last February stood in sharp contrast to these efforts. They shocked a lot of people, and they woke people up. We're here tonight in response to these events to urge your support for a series of public policy reforms that will bring Lowell's treatment of unhoused people in line with its values, while better advancing the public policy goals behind these encounters. After recent events, it has become clear that the city of Lowell needs to reconsider aspects of its treatment of our population of unhoused individuals. We, the undersigned, request that the following protocol be implemented by the City of Lowell and made public. No encampment sweeps, especially during the winter months. These are extremely disruptive to the unhoused population and result in them losing their belongings, access to medical care and services, safety and support systems, often their only means to survive. Request that the city issue a weekly public document outlining the number of adult emergency shelter open beds compared to the number of unhoused persons, or ahead of any attempted relocation. Request that the city support agencies focused on acquiring the appropriate volume of individual shelter beds in a fair and equitable manner with a diverse group of agencies with varied expertise. Our community needs to always have enough emergency shelter beds, a number equal to the average number of unhoused individuals our city sees year to year, and increase or decrease from there as needs arise. We request that a city liaison support service providers as they visit each camp of unhoused individuals to be able to provide the resources and rides to shelter or appropriate facilities with the intent of maximizing the likelihood that an encampment residents enter into the care of established resource providers. The city liaison should help to make sure that providers on the ground have the resources as they are requested. We request that programs that provide transportation to shelter, meal programs, drop-in centers, places with showers, or homeless support services be provided. And if not available, such programs should be implemented. The city should be aware that some homeless individuals live in their cars. We support the fair treatment of these individuals as we support the fair treatment of anyone living outside. We request that they not be ticketed or towed, but instead are supported and befriended by outreach organizations and law enforcement in an effort to encourage them to seek services. We request that any movement of unhoused individuals be scheduled at least a month in advance. And that the persons and their service providers be notified in writing once the movement is scheduled, and that the individuals will have vacated the premises with their belongings before any cleanup begins. We are requesting that trash pickup be established at each encampment with sharps disposal as needed. If the unhoused person is unable to obtain storage for their belongings, request that the city store for 30 days 1 box of unique documentation and personal items, which will only make the process of leaving homelessness more difficult in the future where they lose them. We request to include transportation of belongings from encampment to storage if requested. We request that the Director of Homeless Initiatives and the Hunger and Homeless Commission address these future recommendations, and be accessible publicly via the City of Lowell website. We request that provisions be made with animal shelters to provide short-term care for any pets of encampment residents until they're reclaimed by their owners after resettlement. We request that warming stations be provided anytime the temperature dips below freezing or during snowstorms, and that service providers be involved during these times. These warming stations should be equipped with relevant safety measures, including sharps containers and Narcan-trained staff, with access to Narcan. We also wish that the city will assure that sleeping is allowed at these warming locations. We request that the city support service providers and help to coordinate agencies as they provide accessible treatment options to people who live with substance use disorder or individuals experiencing symptoms of mental illness. We request that the city mandate the fair treatment of all unhoused persons at all times in all divisions and departments, including city offices, the Lowell Police Department, and the Lowell Fire Department. These are federally protected persons, and any form of touch could be severely traumatizing to a vulnerable population. Their privacy and their personal dignity needs to be respected. And we request that the city recognize the specific needs of minors experiencing homelessness and work with agencies that work with youth to develop a plan focusing on them. This is all going to require growing the City of Lowell's homeless office and their capacity, especially their capacity to provide these liaison services between city departments and providers and the unhoused people themselves. They're going to have to staff up, and it's going to take a commitment of resources. Ladies and gentlemen, these are smart investments. 30 years ago, Lowell reimagined interactions between police and residents in our neighborhood. Today, let's bring more insightful, humane thinking to interactions between the city and its unhoused residents. Thank you for listening.
Marissa DuPont.
Hi, I'm Marissa DuPont. I live at 46 Carlisle Street. Our petition, which Joe Boyle just read, was put together in conjunction with service providers, formerly unhoused people, currently unhoused people, and caring community members. Our demands are not complicated. The intent is to focus on strategy which governs the interactions that are already taking place under the existing policy and ways that they can be improved with very minimal cost implications. We hope you adopt these guidelines as common sense practices and let them shape how you move forward in the future, and especially in the winter. Perhaps you have a spouse or relative who became ill and could no longer work. Would you throw them out onto the street? And after doing so, would you dispose of their personal belongings? I doubt it. This is not much different than what is occurring right now with our unhoused population. It is a health issue that will get better with time, so long as proper treatment, services, and housing are provided to allow healing. Direct action is needed now in order to begin solving this issue from the ground up. Each camp of unhoused people is a tiny community. Each person has scraped together something to sleep on, something to protect them from the weather, some means to keep warm. Their belongings are literally keeping them alive. The people residing there rely on each other for support. Every time a sweep happens where folks are not allowed to properly gather and move their belongings, you are putting human lives at risk. Every time you break up a camp, you are breaking up a support system akin to a family. Hotels are not the answer, as they are only a temporary solution. These people need permanent homes and services. We're not asking the city to be the only organization working on this issue, because most of the folks in city government are not experts on issues pertaining to unhoused people. We're asking for you to help the organizations that are already doing the work with funding and support. Solidarity Lowell offers our services to the city in developing the next phase of a written plan which continues to address this issue past the first steps provided in the petition. Regarding the Director of Homeless Initiatives, I'm sure she's overwhelmed, and her direct supervisors do not appear to have gained enough experience and knowledge to help or guide her. This is unfair, and you have set her up to fail. Lack of expertise and of knowing when to delegate is causing the city to make poor choices. You are now teetering on the edge of crossing the lines of legalities. The criminalization of the homeless is illegal in Massachusetts. Many unhoused people are members of protected classes. The city should be very careful in your decisions going forward, or you may be infringing on civil and human rights laws. If the city had a fully staffed and competent legal department, you could seek counsel from them. I'm sure the ACLU would be happy to guide you. Studies have shown that the best thing you can do for someone who is unhoused is to give them a home. This allows them the safety and comfort to heal, to respond to services and treatment, and to find jobs. When out on the street, People spend time just trying to find food, warmth, and safety. Out on the street, it's about surviving day to day, and it's nearly impossible to think ahead. Give them that safety. Treat these people as human beings with kindness and empathy instead of tossing them aside like litter and bulldozing their homes. Lowell is a welcoming community, and that should hold true for the unhoused as well. Thank you.
Is Laura Ortiz?
Hi, thank you very much for letting me speak. Many of us in Concerned Parents Mass and also Transparency Project have been collecting records since 2019, and we're very concerned about how the homeless have been treated and some of the responses of the cities. That is not to diminish the work and effort that you've all done and the time that you take with government and answering questions of the people and trying to do the best that you can. We're concerned with the approach of the homelessness, the threats of them to being arrested, with homelessness ending up with no place to go, with the hospitals that are not welcoming them, with the shelters that are not welcoming them. And we just feel that some of the solutions that have been offered are clearly not working. We have many classes of homelessness and many different areas. We've got students, we've got Jane Does and their children, we've got women and children, we've got the elderly, we have people from out of the country, and we also have veterans. And, you know, like others have said, you know, these are protected classes. And we're concerned with that, you know, with where the money's going. We're not getting a lot of answers on, you know, how the money's being spent. You know, we see it funneled, we see it raised on behalf of the homelessness, we see the government asking for state and federal funds, and we do not see it go to the homelessness, especially the rough sleepers. We've got children at Lowell High School. You know, we'd like to see some laundry equipment in there. We'd like to see some services that are provided to them quietly. And I know a lot of the counselors have mentioned privacy, which is true. You know, we have to respect people's rights to not want to tell their business to others, but it doesn't mean that we can't have a solution. We could do laundry services as well as some of the laundromat. We could provide transportation. There was some excellent suggestions on the solidarity petition, and we'd like to see a lot of that come through. You know, we can't expect someone that has no roof over their head, has no housing, has lost their belongings to all of a sudden be able to, you know, get through the day. You know, we're talking about PTSD that they're not going to be able to handle. And also, a lot of the comments that are being made, you know, against the homelessness are that, you know, their choice of addiction. We're talking about a lot of disabilities where people can't turn off a disability like a light switch. And regardless of however, you know, you might be able to handle a situation, they might handle it differently. And we have to respect that. I mean, I understand that obviously Boston Beacon Hill has to do a lot. We don't have enough bed and treatment facilities, but we can't do a one-size-fits-all solution for the homeless. We need to look at every single individual classification of the homeless that we have, and we need to find a solution for each and every one of them. And again, in regarding to the money, you know, we'd like to know exactly how much money has the city spent. And would also like to know, you know, again, you know, with some of these nonprofits, we've heard stories of hotels rooms being, you know, a whole bunch of blocks purchased and no one even sitting in them. You know, we just feel that there's a lot of fraud, waste, and abuse going along with the inhumane treatment of the homeless. So we'd like to see you somehow find a resolution working with all the citizens, and it's not to diminish what the residents feel, you know, with the needle issues that we have. You know, we've got a lot of areas that need work, but we're a city. You know, we can do better with advocacy. We can do constituency services. I don't see it for the homeless at all. I see people expecting them to show up here at City Hall and speak for themselves, and maybe some of them can't. They've been so traumatized. They've lost their green cards. They've lost their personal belonging. They've lost, you know, some of the elderly have lost items that they can't get back, and, you know, they lost their home. We have so many damaged people in the city that it's incredulous to see every single day that we've got so many homeless that are just being steamrolled with policies that are not working, that again are inhumane, and would like to see something different. All right, thank you very much for your time.
Reverend Heather Prince Doss, Zoom.
Good evening. Thank you for having me today. Mayor Chow and councilors, I appreciate the opportunity to speak tonight. I'm Reverend Heather Prince Doss, a resident of Lowell at 27 Mort Avenue, and I'm the pastor of the Elliott Presbyterian Church on Summer Street. Early in the pandemic, Elliott Church had a group of 8 to 12 people that were encamping on our church property. For months, we did our best to welcome these overnight guests. Eventually, however, issues with trash and human waste and vandalism became unmanageable for our very small staff. And we made the difficult decision that our resources could serve more people by focusing on daytime shelter and supportive services. Even so, we worked hard to close the Elliott encampment in a dignified manner. We spoke directly to every person in their native language. We posted signage with a clear date when the guests would no longer be permitted to sleep on the church lawn. We coordinated the closure with the Lowell Transitional Living Center to ensure a maximum number of beds would be available. And we continued to reach out to those guests even after they had vacated the church property. I won't say that we handled the situation perfectly, but I'm proud that some of the folks are in much better situations now. And even among those that are not, we maintain a good relationship of trust and cooperation and mutual respect. Today, the Elliott Church operates a day center 5 days per week to alleviate the suffering of people experiencing homelessness and to support them in their goals, especially related to housing, recovery, and mental health. Every day we see an average of 80 unique people accessing our services and seeking daytime shelter from the elements. Last year, we served over 240 unique individuals. Our staff and our volunteers treat each person with dignity. They welcome everyone regardless of their condition. They respond with compassion to each person's story. I tell you all of this to convey that I understand the challenges that encampments raise for our communal life together. But I also see the beautiful humanity in the face of every person living in homelessness or housing insecurity. Too often, efforts to deal with homelessness have actually been efforts to make homeless people invisible. But national trends tell us that homelessness is not going away anytime soon. In fact, the end of many COVID-19 social safety nets means that homelessness is likely to increase in the short term, and some resources that have been available over the last 3 years will not be available anymore. Without adequate shelter beds, recovery programs, and affordable housing, outdoor homelessness, including camping and sleeping in cars, is also likely to increase. I know I share with you a vision for a community where no one is homeless. But that's not the same as making sure no one sees homeless people. As long as homelessness is a reality, we should prioritize the dignity of these neighbors, listen to their voices, and honor their ability to survive in difficult circumstances. I believe that with the support of larger community actors like the City of Lowell, encampments can be managed well. The petition from Solidarity Lowell addresses some opportunities to improve services in the encampments. And when encampments must be closed, it can be done with dignity, transparency, and respect. And one way I think to do that, or one important piece of doing that, beyond what's outlined in the petition, is to use clear language like closing, rather than euphemisms like cleaning or sweeping. These end up equating people with trash. And our neighbors are not garbage that needs to be cleaned. They are people who seek and deserve a safe, dignified place to live and to have some choice in the process. I believe the City of Lowell can do better for our residents, all of our residents, both housed and unhoused. And so I therefore support the citizens' petition and urge the City Council to adopt it, take appropriate action, and devote the resources necessary to see it come to fruition. Thank you for your time tonight and for all of the work you have done on behalf of our community as a whole and our homeless neighbors. Thank you.
Chris Offerman.
Chris Offerman, I live at 200 Market Street. Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, Mr. Manager, after all these wonderful speakers, there really isn't very much else I can add to it, other than I would like to express that I fully support this petition and all the other points that were raised today. And to add, on a personal note, I find it very concerning that there are 300 or more unhoused people in Lowell. They're our neighbors. I know it can happen to anybody. I myself have been uncomfortably close to being homeless with 2 young children several times. I only managed to stay afloat with a lot of help from family, and friends. Not everybody has that kind of a safety net that I thankfully had. So I urge the City Council to consider any and all solutions and alternatives to help the unhoused population in Lowell and to treat them with dignity and respect. Thank you.
Mr. Clerk, any other registered speaker?
No, Mr. Mayor.
Councilor Robinson?
Thank you. First, I'd like to thank the speakers tonight, and I agree. We have to treat our unhoused residents or homeless residents with dignity and respect. It's like any human. I'd like to thank the petitioners that signed this list of suggestions as well. But I would also ask that I noticed on the list of signatories, I'd like to ask the non-Lowell residents to carry their passion to the various town halls throughout Greater Lowell, that they signed the petition that they're asking the city of Lowell to put resources and time and energy into. So I really think I'd urge their town managers as well, and their selectmen, and their councilors to collaborate with us. There has to be a better path. And I also think this is going to take more than just a Lowell effort. This is going to take a Greater Lowell effort. And so I think it's a good start. I think if we have residents and members of surrounding communities in the Merrimack Valley willing to sign a petition trying to get us to allocate resources, I think let's partner up. And I'm all ears, and I'm willing to have these conversations with surrounding communities and see what can be done. Thank you.
Councilor Murcia?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. There's no doubt that housing is an issue in Lowell, and many are on the street who work. They are the working poor, people who had rent that have risen beyond their control and forced them out into the street, and my heart aches for them. These are the people who need to be helped. These are the people who are not on drugs. There are many categories of people who are homeless for many reasons as well. There are some homeless who prefer to be left alone outside and do not want housing. So what do we do in this case? In thoroughly going over this petition, I have many observations and questions that seem to be unanswered. What is before us is somewhat reasonable and some not so realistic. Let me give you some of my thoughts and concerns. No outside sleeping is considered safe in terms of homelessness. LTLC, Lowell Transitional Living Center, is the only congregate shelter in Lowell. They are often at maximum capacity for bed availability. Daybreak in Lawrence is the next closest congregate shelter to Lowell. As I have said before, we need another shelter in Lowell. How do we make that happen? Lowell has no inpatient detox or psychiatric facility in Lowell. Tewksbury State Hospital is the closest. The petition says, request that the city recognize the specific needs of minor experience homelessness. Let me tell you that minors are not allowed to be homeless in Massachusetts. A 51A is filed with DCF, Department of Children and Family Services, if a minor is homeless. Minors cannot live at encampments in any capacity. It is negligence for mandated reporters to not report minors, children living at encampments, and presents legal consequences for workers as well as others at encampments. Let me also note that the city has one staff member assigned to the syringe collection program who is responsible for responding to calls from the entire city, LPD, Trinity, etc., not just homeless encampments. Storing the belongings of individuals presents a public health hazard to the staff who would be required to monitor such items. Will individuals who would need items stored consent to having bags searched for potential sharps, syringes, weapons, chemicals, drugs, etc.? Encampments present public health hazards to the individuals living there, workers and outreach staff who check in and visit them. Hepatitis, blood-borne pathogens, untreated medical conditions, open wound infections, dirty needle usage, needle sticks, mental illness, etc. Many outreach staff and programs in the city have connected individual to services. What are we to do if there is a wait list for a new service provider, but an active health risk is presented to a specific encampment? Do they want us to put them in a taxi and drop them off at another camp while they wait for services? The city does not have unlimited funding money. What funding is to be used for these services? Has any individual who took part in drafting this request done a cost breakdown of what it would take to not only initiate and build these programs and add staffing, but a year-by-year breakdown into the future in order to maintain these supports, such as storing encampment belongings, provide transportation to shelter, meal programs, drop-in center, places with showers, support services? I agree that people living in cars should not be towed or ticketed, but what if these vehicles are unregistered or uninsured? That, to me, is another story. I appreciate your petition. Now tell me your solution to end homelessness. Don't just give me demands on this city demands, unfunded mandates. Give me a solution. Give me some answers. When we look around and see homeless here, these people that are here are not all from Lowell. We're not helping just Lowellians. When you have a city that provides numerous services, and we have organizations, it's like a beacon saying, come, we're here to help you. We're getting people from all over the place. The demand is much greater than we can support. I know that you don't want to hear what I'm saying, but this is my observation, and I'm telling it like it is. I have compassion. I don't think that we should just go and bulldoze an encampment place. I know from experience, I don't know what happened the day that you're talking about, but we do warn people in advance, please get your stuff out of here or move or whatever. We'll try to help you and get you into a hotel if that need be, and a lot of them just don't do it. I will also tell you another thing. I feel bad for people that are in encampments for this particular reason. There are neighbors that know that there's an encampment, so when they have stuff that they want to get rid of and dump, they dump it right there at the campsite. Who gets blamed for it but the people that are homeless? So that is another problem as well. So, I mean, we're trying to do our best in the city. I know you understand that. We're just inundated with so many requests. This is my observation, and I know that there are quite a few people that signed this petition that are numerous signers. They've signed in multiple times. Multiple people signed multiple times. And those that signed from other areas, like Councilor Corey Robinson said, you know, I know that you signed from Lawrence, you signed from the petition from other areas. Help us out and take some of the people and, you know, take some of the burden in your cities and towns. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First, I'd just like to thank the petitioners for taking the time to sign the petition, and for everyone who spoke tonight, whether here or on Zoom. This is something, obviously, we've talked about this time and time again here on the council floor, and it's clear that there are needs, that the unhoused community within Lowell and around Lowell has needs that are not being met. The numbers that were sent to us today by the Director of Homelessness Initiatives, clear. We don't have enough beds in the city. There aren't anywhere for the folks in the encampments to go in Lowell right now. I don't know what we can do in the short term, or the medium term, or the long term, but I know that, Mr. Manager, you've presented us with some outlines of where we're going, things like multiple smaller shelters to address the various needs of the unhoused population, because there's no one cause of homelessness. There's no one solution to homelessness. The targeted addressing of each individual and their circumstances is going to be different. And there's going to be a lot of work here. We know that, and we're all committed to doing what we can to help people out, to be humane about it, and to make sure that we have as great an impact as we possibly can for all these folks. I know that some of the stuff that was in this petition we've either tried before or we're doing now, and maybe it's just not clear that we've tried it. For instance, the trash pickup from the encampments was something that was tried, that Councilor Drinkwater put forward a term or two ago, and it worked for a while, and then it fell apart. There's other things in here, notice of the encampment cleanups, closures, however you want to call them. I know people have been notified. Maybe we can be better about the process by which we notify people, and people can anticipate that. I know that a lot of this stuff was addressed in the draft policy and procedure that came forward a month and a half or 2 months ago. We haven't seen any updates on that, but I hope that some of these things where it makes sense, we can include some of these recommendations. So I would like to make a motion to refer this to the city manager for review of this petition and to bring back any recommendations to us that you feel are appropriate at this time. I think it's a good time for it, where we're working on the budget for next year, so we can realistically know what we can try to accomplish in the next 12 months. So I make that motion.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I want to thank the speakers here tonight, as well as the petitioners, because you can tell where this petition comes from is a deep sense of empathy towards those who are homeless within this city, and ultimately, what I think it gets to is just treating every individual with the dignity and respect that they deserve. And I think that is something that everyone here in this chamber, on this floor, and in the city administration agrees with. It's something that has been discussed a lot, particularly throughout the course of the winter. It's been reflected, I think, in the policies that have been presented to the council over the course of the winter, that have been adapted and improved upon to, I believe, recognize where there may have been some deficits early on, and have made efforts to improve upon those and ensure that we are addressing every individual with dignity and respect. Where I think there's a fundamental tension, and it's something that I've spoke of on this floor before, is in those situations, and it was addressed by one of the speakers earlier tonight, is in the situations where encampments must close. And if you read the petition that we received, it essentially requested that no encampments are closed. But I do believe that there are situations that have been discussed here where, for reasons of public health, for reasons of public safety, for personal safety, for those who are living there, that there are situations where it is the right thing to do to go in and close encampments. And there's also the fundamental tension between, I think, none of us really wanting to see an individual sleeping outside, particularly in the winter, particularly in the cold. And there are requests here in this document, very reasonable, that look for the addition of warming centers where people can go during cold weather. And I think that really gets to the fundamental concern that we do not want to see individuals sleeping outside during the winter. And where we have gone and addressed the encampments, there have been services offered throughout the winter. I know in the updates that we received, there were beds available to those who are sleeping in encampments over the winter. And ultimately, I think that is the empathetic thing to do and the humane thing to do is to offer, the people services where they can sleep inside somewhere warm, particularly during the winter months. And I know there's a real tension between offering those services and respecting people's autonomy, and it can be a difficult balance. But I think where the city has, approached the issue, and it's always been to address really, not done haphazardly or to address a nuisance, it's been to address issues of public health, public safety, and also to provide individuals with options to move outside and get inside. So I think there's a lot of good recommendations here. I think referring this to the city manager is the proper thing to do, to take a look at the recommendations, see. I know we've been constantly improving, constantly adjusting. There can be some potential areas here where we can adjust and improve a little more. So, look forward to hearing back if there's anything here that we can implement. But again, at the end of the day, I think everyone from the petitioners to the councilors, again, to city administration, city staff, agrees that the goal here is to treat individuals with dignity and respect and move them into a better situation than they're in now. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I want to thank all the speakers. The petition is reasonable. Most is very reasonable. And we know that the issues of homelessness or unhoused population is not just a city of low issues alone. It's a regional and state, maybe even the country. It's not going to go away. I agree with the speakers. Some of the speakers, take all of us working together to address it and do it in a way that is respectful. Councilors Drinkwaters a couple of weeks ago talking about treat unhoused population with compassion. And when the managers had these policies in place, we talking about a number of things on that policies or protocol in terms of coding if and when we close encampment for reason as stated by Councilor Drinkwaters. We coordinated with other providers, the shelters, signposted. We asking that the signposts, 2 weeks in advance. And not only that, I remember a couple weeks ago in the council floor here that not only the signposts but also individual outreach going there. And you do have the co-op team, and I know that FY24 you look to expand that co-op team in terms of reaching out to work with a homeless population and work with our partners, because I know that the City of Lowell do not provide housing, but we do work with our partners, either CTI, the shelters on Middlesex Street. Notice giving and belonging as well. We are not in businesses of storing belonging, but you work with. Remember, you said you work with a nonprofit to make sure that being taken care of, because we do express concern on that on this council floor. Just about every council here do care about the issues and want to work and want to address this. Is there a room for improvement? Certainly, there is room for improvement. I like the idea of refer this to the managers and the manager looking at it, comparing with the petition requests and step being taken by your office and the homeless coordinators, Ms. Maura Fitzpatrick, to try to address this. And I know also is that during the winter time, Mr. Mayor, that we making sure that we keep saying to the managers and his team that having a warming center, and we use senior center doing that, not only providing space for homeless populations, but also food as well. And so those are the kind of things that we ought to do and try to do more of. So continue to work with our partners and work with the individual speakers that's here tonight. This is our problem. We need to work together, and pointing fingers is not going to help us solve this issue. So I thank you.
Councillor Rourke, you defer to Councillor Gishia. Councillor Gishia.
Thank you, Mayor Chow. Being a city council is never easy, especially when you start talking about humane things as treating others. And, you know, we have a balance. We have a balance between our businesses, our residents, and the homeless population. That balance is not easily equated. We have businesses who won't come downtown because people are sleeping in the doorways and they're just not, it's not feasible. We heard that about Garcia Brogan's when that piece was looking to be rented out. We heard that somebody wouldn't take it because they felt as though it just wasn't marketable for their business at the time. And then we hear about, if you go to Lincoln Parkway, there's tents in somebody's yard and they're living in them and they're doing other things in these tents. And what's humane? Is it humane to just push people deeper and deeper in, or is it humane to try to give them proper services to help them get better if there's an issue? What is humane? I don't think we talk about, okay, let's just keep somebody there, okay, but what's humane? How do we help them? How do we give them the services needed to actually do things? And I agree with Councilor Mercier in that fact. We have a lot of people standing up here to push people deeper and deeper into the homeless situation, but we really don't have a solution. The solution isn't not to tow somebody. How about inspect the vehicle? How about make sure that someone else isn't going to get hurt? It's not to just pick up the trash that's in conservation areas, wetlands. We had stories about a lady over at Target that had texted over that she was taking her young daughter to her vehicle and basically had to run to her vehicle quickly because of someone was pushing her in that direction. I don't have an answer, but I'm a humane person, and I want treatment for people. I want solutions. I want them to help. Is there a way that we can do better? What is that way? I think that if we reach out to others and we try to figure out what is the issue of each person, is it just money? Is money what's driving people into encampments? And if we gave them the money, would they afford an apartment? Would they get back on their feet? I don't know that that's the answer. I don't know if the same thing as one of the speakers said, that she had 2 young children who was getting pushed that way, but family helped her. How do we become that family that helps somebody not get to this place? Prevention is the answer. It's not push people deeper and deeper into homelessness. So I think that going back to the manager and coming back with some type of humane way of trying to help people, I think we learned a lot from the first time the encampments got removed till we started to. But I think we have to figure out a solution to actually put people back into housing and put people back into the work world and put people back into society where we have an option where they can actually have live a good life. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions by any of the council member? Hearing none, I just want to say there's some good points made by the petitioners, some good comments by the registered speaker as well, and of course all the comments and concerns of the council members. All of them have to be taken into consideration. As you, the public in the chamber can hear, and people watching from home, this council really care about the city and care about every single individual in the city, and all of us are trying to do what is the best thing for each individual. And the right process is to refer it to the city manager's office to look at the way that we've been doing. The city's been doing a fantastic job, but this situation of homelessness is it's always moving. It's always situations that are different. So I believe that if the manager's office is looking at the process again, there's got to be some little tweak and a little bit of adjustment here and there. We're never going to reach a perfect solution. This is a human problem. It's a crisis. And we're a city that try to tackle all these problems as best as we can. I'm sure once the report comes back, there'll be in the future, we can always adjust as we go. So I look forward to getting the report back from the city manager's office as well. So this petition,
Mr. Mayor, may I?
So this petition has been referred to the manager's office. The vote has been taken and it has been passed. Councilor Yam?
I just would like to add additional information regarding to the motion that asks the manager to reach out to cities and towns in the Greater Lowell. If you look at the petitioner and the people involved from Dracut, Chelmsford, Concord, Haverhill, Lawrence, Methuen, Pepperell, Tewksbury. So reach out to them because homelessness is a regional and a state and a national problem. So the city of Lowell does not have all the resources, and some of these people are from these cities and towns, so maybe work together to come up with solution, also financial solution as well. And I would urge, similar to what Councillor Corey Robinson said, is that we urged petitioner and the speaker to also lobby all these cities and town, like you do today, tonight, because they have to be part of the solution. Lowell cannot bear the financial burden alone. So that's all my my amendment to the motion. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
I believe the manager will take a note of that. We don't need to amend the motion, which was already passed. With that said, we now, since on the suspension of rule, we do have one more item that we have a registered speaker. If we could take that up first. I believe that was Mr. Close at 5.2. Yes, 5.2.
Yes, Mr.
I
Mayor.
get a motion by one of the member, Councillor Gishia, to take item 5.2 out of order, second by Councillor Scott. 5.2 is the informational report. The first one is on the geothermal. Mr. Clerk, do you have a registered speaker on this one?
Do, Mr. Mayor. Steve Malagodi.
Good evening, everyone. Bonsoir tout le monde. My name is Steve Malagodi. I live at 200 Market Street, number 216. Speaking tonight on behalf of 350 Mass of Greater Lowell. We are your independent citizen activists working to address climate change and environmental justice. It is wonderful, wonderful to see the city engaged with UMass Lowell and National Grid on this research project for the development of geothermal energy here in Massachusetts. For this, we want to especially thank the energy manager, Catherine Moses, for all her work in the daunting challenge of transitioning away from fossil fuels. She is great. And this project is great. Well, mostly great. Very few would question the wisdom of doing everything possible to reduce and finally eliminate the threat posed by coal, oil, and gas to the global climate. In just a little while, this council will consider the request to extend outdoor dining in Lowell until November. It's getting warmer. Let's hope we don't get to the place where we'll be considering year-long seaside cabanas along Merrimack Street. So, this research project is great, mostly great. That's easy to see, but there are a couple of hidden questions. One has a simple engineering answer. Industry-wide, geothermal energy extraction is done by employing the current gas industry practice of fracking, the fracturing of subsurface rock to maximize the efficiency of the boreholes. We understand that the toxic chemicals used in fracking for gas are different than those used for geothermal. Nevertheless, it is fracking, and given the proximity to the river, it seems a valid concern. Will the fracturing process be used in this case? The second question is not so easy. In fact, it's not easy at all. It goes to who pays for this research. As noted in the report, this project is funded by a $15 million grant from the state DPU in cooperation with UMass Lowell and National Grid. Okay. This means it is an effective transfer of wealth from statewide taxpayers for the eventual profit of a giant international corporation Administration, and so they decided not to participate in that program and will fund a safe and clean energy alternative using their general fund. They can afford to do so. Good for them. That's called a privilege of the rich, and they will profit from the rewards of doing it right. Could the citizens of Lowell afford such a life-sustaining luxury themselves? Maybe, but probably not. So once again, the poor and working class will pay an unfair poverty tax just to survive and because of the current structural inequalities. These two contrasting projects, one mostly great, the other a dumb disaster, and please hear my words carefully, both illustrate aspects of what we know as a process of environmental racism. Now, I did not say that anyone involved in this is racist, but both show the result of structural injustice ingrained against the poor. And in America, Lowell included, poverty generally tracks with race and gender. The only way to address a structural problem is to modify and modernize the structure, this city's structure. In that regard, we look forward to the manager's response to that March 21st motion. But on this one, good job. Mostly. Thank you. The manager is gone.
Mr. Clerk, any other registered speaker?
No, Mr.
Through the manager's office to Ms. Moses.
Thank you so much for having us to educate the council about this exciting opportunity. I agree with the speaker that this is an exciting thing. We are the first community in National Grid territory to take part in this geothermal pilot, and I think this particular project is especially exciting because it allows us to partner with people at UMass Lowell, at the RISC Institute for Sustainability and Energy, and with the utility itself. Both the utility and the Commonwealth have goals to be net zero by 2050, and we get to help them find a pathway towards that. So with that, I'd just like to introduce my friends from UMass Lowell and have them say a word about the project, and then we'll have a small presentation by National Grid.
Great. Thank you, Catherine. My name is Rory O'Mahony. I'm the Executive Director of the RISC Institute for Sustainability and Energy. And I want to thank Mayor Chow, the councillors, and City Manager Golden for the opportunity to come before you tonight and give an update on the project. I'd also like to echo the previous speaker's comments about Catherine Moses. She's a fantastic resource to the city, and very proud of her as a UMass Lowell graduate to be working in partnership on this clean energy transition. So the Network Geothermal project is something that we've been tracking in partnership with the city for about 4 years at this stage, and even going back to Manager Golden's previous role in the State House, this is a project that he was a big proponent of and an advocate of Lowell being one of the pilot sites for this type of work. Our ability to partner with the city, I think, presents a tremendous opportunity in the sense that this is not just an infrastructure project. So this is building off a multi-year effort of funded research that looks at an equitable and fair transition for environmental justice communities as we grapple with the impacts of climate change, with the funding coming from the federal government, from the state government, that the actions that we take are done in a fair and equitable manner. So this partnership with the city, with DPD, with Catherine, Giovanni, all of the staff there goes back a number of years and is really informed by funded research from agencies such as the National Science Foundation, private foundations, and the National Institutes of Health. So we're coming into this with a very rich background in terms of what this transition can look like, and obviously the infrastructure component for this is going to be huge. So the fact that we can partner with the city to underpin the system. So National Grid will go through some logistics on the project, but the bore field for this will take place on university property, so the Wilder Street faculty and staff lot, and then use the existing gas distribution network to go to properties along the route to offer carbon-free heating and cooling. Now again, I really want to stress this is not just an infrastructure project. We're really looking at this as an opportunity to chart a path for the Commonwealth to achieve its own climate goals. So I think, as you know, this council is aware. Every city, town across the state has lofty carbon reduction goals. It's one thing to make a statement that this is what we want to do, it's another thing to act upon it. And I think partnerships are crucial to this. So the support that we've received from the City of Lowell, the staff, the elected officials, is really intrinsic to what this project is about. And obviously the university is excited about it for our own carbon reduction efforts, but crucially here that this takes place in the core environmental justice neighbourhood of the city, and that equity and fairness with the rollout of this project is really central to our overall approach for it. So last Friday we did geophysical survey in the parking lot, and we have test drilling scheduled for next week and a public announcement, obviously in partnership with the city, National Grid, to really put Lowell on the map as a destination for these type of informed, practical solutions to moving our own and our collective climate goals forward. So we're very excited about it. Again, cannot emphasize enough the importance of the partnership with the city, and I feel that this is a very important step for us to take together to realise on the opportunities that we have in addressing climate change, and importantly here, bringing external funding into the city to deliver fair and equitable benefits for the city residents first and foremost. And environmental justice is key for us at the university. A lot of our students are first generation students coming from these neighbourhoods, so our opportunity to have the students engage in this research project and lead to practical solutions that will benefit the neighbourhoods that they're from is really the driver behind this entire project. So again, I really appreciate the partnership, appreciate the support, and look forward to working hand in hand with the city as this project becomes a reality for Lowell and really puts our credentials out there as a centre of excellence for how to do this and do it well. So thank you.
Any comments or questions from the council member, Councilor Janess?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to Mr. O'Mani. I really appreciate the presentation. This is an exciting project, and I'm happy to see that Lowell is the home for it, and I'm happy to see that some of our residents are likely to have a significant benefit as a result of this. I don't want to put you on the spot, but I was wondering if you might be able to speak a little bit to the fracking concerns that were presented by the speaker and how they may tie into this project here.
I'm happy to take that, but I think it's appropriate I turn it over to National Grid to talk about the specifics of the project, but there is no fracking as part of this. So.
Good evening. Thank you for having us. My name is Joe Morocco. I am with the National Grid Geothermal Pilot Team. I couldn't be more excited to be here after several months of hard work, trying to understand exactly how viable this area was going to be for the pilot, and we're happy to say that it looks great and that we've already engaged with several customers along the loop. But here today we're going to give an overview of what this pilot entails and what this is going to look like for the city, and it's a great thing. Here at National Grid we're committed to a fossil-free future, and part of the pathway to that is geothermal. So in December 2021, the DPU approved $15.6 million of funding for up to 4 pilots. That actually isn't a grant. It's actually paid for by the ratepayers in their gas bills, similar to how Mass Save is funded now. So those of us that have a natural gas bill with National Grid will pay a small portion of each bill to fund this project, just like all the other energy efficiency incentives that we currently offer. We were going to identify up to 4 pilots, with each pilot being 20 to 40 customers or 100 to 200 tons of load. And there are 4 criteria that each project must meet. There needs to be an environmental justice area. It needs to be a gas-constrained area. It could replace leak-prone pipe. Or it needs to be at a community with a diverse load profile. Diverse load is important because it helps balance the system and makes it easier to serve customers with less boreholes and less intensive infrastructure. And what are the benefits of geothermal? So compared to straight electrification, geothermal is significantly more energy efficient, which allows us to go towards a net zero future with mitigating some of the capacity concerns that we have with an all-electric approach. Geothermal pulls the heating or cooling from a water-based system which operates around 55 degrees. When you compare that to air source heat pump on a 20-degree day, there's a significant difference in efficiency because you have to pull that heat out of a lower air temperature. I do have with us today Chris English, who is our project manager for the pilot, and I'd like to introduce him to go through kind of some of the specifics about the pilot in general.
Thank you for having us tonight. Like Joe said, my name is Chris English. I'm the project manager for National Grid geothermal pilots here in the state of Massachusetts. Extremely excited to work with the City of Lowell and the University of Lowell on our first ever geothermal pilot project here in Massachusetts. So I'll just go over just some brief highlights on what geothermal is. If you look at the illustration on the bottom, we have a typical scenario for 2 single-family residences. In this situation, each of the single families has a dedicated, what we call a borehole in their property. And in the heating mode, the water-filled solution goes into that borehole, extracts the energy and the heat from that earth, and then dispenses that heat into the home to heat your home in the winter. And in the summertime, in cooling mode, it does the exact opposite. It extracts the heat from the home and then dispenses that heat into the earth. Which button you hit here, Joe? I'm sorry. Sorry, excuse me. I got it. So what's different here? So we're looking at the district heating and cooling, or what we call network geothermal, was we'll put a series of boreholes, and in this specific project in the university parking lot, where we'll extract all that energy from the earth, but then we'll feed that energy through a regular distribution loop through the streets. That distribution loop will carry that heated solution, that water-filled solution, through the streets, and then service lines will connect to that geothermal loop in order to heat and cool your home. This is just a brief overview of where we're considering the project. It's in that acre where Broadway, Wilder, Walker, and Wall Street. And if you can see the kind of the red line kind of dictated here on what the geothermal loop actually looks like, you can see the yellow square structure up in the university parking lot. That's where the majority of the boreholes will be. The distribution loop, as you can see in the red, will go through that Broadway, Walker, and Wilder streets. We do have a little section of right-of-way boreholes on Wall Street. Essentially, that is to support the backside of the system. So as the fluid travels around the loop and potentially could cool down, it will regenerate its system through that right-of-way boreholes. Once again, this is a closed-loop system, so there is no extraction of any water from the ground. All the solution is contained within the system itself. This is just a quick, brief overview of what the borehole, potential borehole situation looks like in the university parking lot. Each one of those boreholes is a 20-foot on center. We space the boreholes out 20 feet so that we don't extract the thermal energy from an additional borehole. If we put them too close, they'll extract energy from each other, so we space those boreholes out in 20-foot on center. And this is just another picture of the potential boreholes on the university parking lot and possible boreholes on the backside of the system on Wall Street. And that's it. Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Councillor Yam.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you to all the partners that, with this exciting project. I'm so proud because this has happened in my district. I live about 5 blocks away from the UMass Lowell, where you're talking about the parking lot. So my question is that, is this the pilot just for that blocks only for now? And eventually, fine tune it and it will go throughout the city. Is that the plan?
So for now, the plan is just to limit the loop to those blocks, those 4 blocks. And we have actually tried to reach out to the residents in that neighborhood, and we've gotten some positive feedback. But if anybody does that's listening to this does live in that neighborhood, or if you know people that live in that neighborhood, and you can encourage them to reach out to us to see if they'd be a good participant, that would be appreciated. I think going forward, the pilot is intended to last for 5 years, although we will operate this equipment for up to 100. But this pilot will be 5, and then at that time, once we determine is this a viable business model or something that we could push forward, we could expand upon the loop. But for this pilot, it will be just that neighborhood.
Thank you, and I would offer my support and services. I know family who live there near the parking lot. There's on Broadway Street. There's a lot of Cambodian family who live there, and also Latino. I speak Cambodian, so if I could be of any help, I know those people personally. During my campaign, that's the area that I walked 3 times before the election, so I would love to be part of it. We can walk the neighborhood. I can introduce you and someone from the city, explain in their native language that this is the project and this is the benefit of the project. So it helps eliminate the fear and uncertainty.
That would be fantastic. I can give you one of my business cards today. A little bit about the pilot. So if people do participate, we will retrofit their building to be run on geothermal heating and cooling. If they're willing to abandon their entire gas service, they may be eligible to have their cooking or drying equipment replaced as well as part of the pilot. And there is a small fee that goes with the pilot. For income eligible customers, it's $45 per month for 5 years. And for customers at market rate, it's $60 per month. That is intended to be 5% of the retrofit cost, although those numbers were done before inflation, so it's probably a little bit lower than 5% now. So if anyone is willing to participate, those would be the fees that they would incur and what we'd be retrofitting for them.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions by any of the councilors? Councilor Janess?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. If somebody in this service area currently doesn't have gas service, would they still be eligible to participate?
So they do need to have a National Grid gas account. There's some flexibility in that, like if it's a landlord that has an owner as an account somewhere else, we may be able to consider the building. But for now, the person that's going to participate does have to be an account holder, which we have identified, and we've tried to target our outreach to only customers that would be eligible.
Thank you. And just to confirm, there's no fracking involved in this project, correct?
I'm not a technical expert, but my understanding is it's no different than an artisan well for drinking water. And then and Chris, I don't know if you want to answer that.
Yeah, it's the same technology as if you were putting an artesian well. It's a 6-inch diameter borehole, roughly 600 feet deep. Once we bore that borehole out, we'll be placing in the closed plastic loop, and then grouting that hole with a grout, which will not affect the aquifer whatsoever.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
I just offer congratulations again to Catherine Moses, and this idea before the council. I think for Lowell to be first on this is terrific. And often we hear a lot of people come in here and complain, but to see actual solutions is a good thing. Thank you.
No other comment. Congratulations, Catherine Moses, and thank UMass and National Grid for being here to make the presentation. Thank you. The next information report is on the ARPA award for the fire apparatus. Mr. Manager.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. This a brief presentation by Phil Sharon and his team. So, Chief, if you're ready.
I got my staff helping me out. Your staff helping me out.
That's the one, so it should review full screen mode. Thank you.
Good evening. Through you, Mr. Mayor, to the council. Thank you for giving me an opportunity to speak today on our current encumbering of the financial aspect of the purchase of the new fire vehicles.
In 2030, we're going to be approaching the 200th anniversary of the Lowell Fire Department. No one in living memory has seen this type of money allocated to fleet vehicles. And we've never seen an opportunity like this to design and purchase as many vehicles and to modernize the fleet in such a manner so that we can standardize it basically across the board. It's impossible to overstate the significance of this allocation of funding. Having this amount of funding available has provided the department with a tremendous amount of opportunity. First, the chance to design and purchase these vehicles that will meet our requirements through a whole spectrum of fire apparatus types, the three of which we'll be discussing this evening. Secondly, the ability to standardize and modernize the entire response fleet all at one time. And lastly, a chance to envision what the Lowell fire truck of the future would look like, the vehicles that will carry on the fire suppression for this city well into the next decade. So just very briefly, we're going to go over a quick ARPA overview of where the fire funding stands in the whole scheme of things. We'll talk about the timeline for the vehicles, and then we will go into a very quick, detailed overview of some of the design considerations, and also we'll get into the different types of fire apparatus that we will be purchasing. So this overview slide is basically designed to show the Lowell Fire Department apparatus replacement plan in the context of how it fits into the overall ARPA plan. This allocation of $10 million represents 13% of the total ARPA funding awarded to the city. It is a very substantial investment in the future of fire public safety services within the city. This is a very busy slide, but we were attempting to get the majority of the data from my memo that was given to you and place it in a timeline format. Very briefly, this ARPA timeline shows the process taken by the fire department to reach its fire apparatus replacement goals. In the last 3 months of the calendar year of 2022, an ARPA project manager was appointed, an apparatus committee was established, and apparatus manufacturers were identified, and they were invited to present proposals. In December, 2 companies were chosen, Pierce Fire Apparatus and Emergency One, and they were allowed to demonstrate the latest versions of their fire apparatus types. In January, engineered drawings were received. They were reviewed by the apparatus committee, and they were sent back to both manufacturers for modifications. In February, final proposals were received from both manufacturers, and the proposal made by Pierce Fire Apparatus through Allegiance Fire and Rescue was accepted by the department. We are currently in this timeline in the apparatus assembly and manufacturing phase, with completed vehicles to be delivered to the city between May of 2024 and May of 2025, more than a year and a half before the ARPA deadline. Now we'll go over a very quick overview of fleet apparatus. First thing we want to do is just kind of touch very lightly on a few of the design considerations that had to be looked at by the apparatus committee. After speaking with the manager, ARPA manager that we appointed, there were over 73 different possible variations that had to be considered in each of the apparatus types. But what you see in front of you are some of the main considerations that we had to contend with. Fire apparatus that meet the design requirements of a fire department have to be engineered from the ground up. You cannot just go to a manufacturer, look on the lot, and find the truck that you need. The list you see in front of you is, of course, by no means exhaustive, but it shows some of the main areas that require consideration when you're engineering a vehicle of this type. Some examples include apparatus size, including height, weight, the width and the length of the vehicles. We have to take into account the pumps that will be in used and their ratings so that they work with the city's water system. We have to look at our water tank capacity. We have to consider ease of maintenance, not only for the department mechanic, but also for the drivers who will be operating the vehicle daily. There's a few of them now. There are maneuverability considerations that have to be considered. Wheelbase, turning radius, and the length of the vehicle all have to be thought about in an urban environment, such as a city like Lowell. We must take into account equipment compartment design and dimensions. Fire trucks carry a tremendous amount of equipment that needs to be standardized and carried on these trucks to a fire scene. We have to look at aerial ladder deployment, how these vehicles will be positioned on city streets, and their usability. And we have to take into account cab size and safety features for the firefighters themselves. On this slide, we're going to talk about the pump trucks that will be purchased. The city has ordered 7 pump trucks or engines to replace current engines within the fleet. Each vehicle will be identical and it's sized to fit the height, weight, length, and width requirements of each of the city's firehouses, so that the trucks have become standardized and can be used interchangeably. Regarding use in our neighborhoods, each of these engines will be nearly a foot shorter than most of the engines that are in service. They will have a shorter wheelbase, which allows for better maneuverability in operating on city streets. The city has also ordered for purchase 2 100-foot aerial ladder trucks. They will be utilizing Pierce's TAC-4 independent front suspension system, which increases maneuverability on city streets and enhances vehicle control. Traction with this system is improved. Vehicle stopping distances are decreased, and wear and tear on the chassis and suspension system are minimized. Currently, our Ladder 4 is using the TAC-4 system. Ladder 4 is the ladder truck at the West 6th Street Firehouse. These trucks also have what we would call a shorter jack footprint of about 14 feet, which is excellent for tight streets. Finally, to round out the 10 trucks, we are ordering 1 100-foot mid-mount platform truck. This will replace our current tower, Ladder 3, located downtown. The platform has a significantly decreased extension time, which accelerates rescues. This is the time it takes for the actual boom of the aerial to leave the bed of the truck and be against the side of the building. During the demonstrations, this was done in about 35 seconds after placing the jacks down, which is a significant increase based on the current aerial devices we have. This accelerates the rescue of persons from the upper floors of burning buildings and gives us access to the roof for ventilation purposes. Like the aerial ladder trucks, this tower also has the TAC-4 front suspension system to increase maneuverability. But on top of this, it also has the T3 rear suspension system. This is significant because this rear steer system allows for the axles to turn in the rear to the opposite direction of the turn, making it so that the vehicle can turn in a very tight radius and get into some tight spots. This apparatus will also help us facilitate below-grade rescue, since the bucket can be placed up to 12 feet below the actual level of the truck. And it will allow us a new tool for accessing exterior fire attack, allowing us to get underneath the roof with the deck gun that is on top of the platform. I'd like to take an opportunity to give a special thanks to everybody who helped to bring this to fruition, starting first with the fleet manager, Deputy Chief James Normandin, who is with us today. Also, the entire apparatus committee for their countless hours of work. I'd like to give a special thanks to the 3 fire departments that allowed their vehicles to be used during the demonstrations. That's Worcester Fire for their use of their engine, Randolph for the use of their ladder truck, and Wells, Maine for the use of their mid-mount tower truck. A special thanks, too, to the 2 manufacturers who participated in the proposal process, Pierce through Allegiance Fire and Rescue, and Greenwood Emergency Vehicles, Emergency One. I'd also like to thank the manager and members of the manager's office, specifically the ARPA manager, Brendan Flynn, Melissa DeRoges, and Diandra Silk, who work with the manager's office, who helped me to condense literally hundreds of pages of pictures and material down into something that I could present to this council. Thank you very much. The bottom line is that by 2025, the Lowell Fire Department's 13 primary vehicles and its 3 secondary vehicles will have an average age of about 2.1 years. It's never happened before. It's an unprecedented step forward. It's groundbreaking. You can use any word that you want to. When I listen to retirees and talk to them, they are absolutely amazed at what is occurring here. And they actually wish they were back on the job. They can come back, yes. But I would like to, in finalizing this, give a special thanks to the council. It's your vision, it's your commitment, and your allocation of this funding. You didn't have to present us with $10 million. You could have gone lower, you could have gone 4 or 5, or even lower than that. But this gives us a tremendous opportunity. And we were absolutely thrilled to take it, and hopefully we've done you proud by utilizing the money to the best of our ability. Thank you very much, and I will answer any questions that the council has.
Councillor Yam.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Chief. I've read the report 3 times and with excitement. The only one thing left is that my wish is that we will have a EV fire truck. That's it. That's my beef. So hopefully the next round of funding we can get an EV fire truck. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor.
Anybody want to make a comment after Councillor Yam? Councillor Jeunesse.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I too just want to say thank you to the chief, his team, and everyone involved in bringing this forward. This is a huge step forward for the city, for the fire department, and all our residents should be happy and excited by this, just like everyone in this room. I think this sets the tone, and hopefully we'll be able to maintain this going forward. So, Mr. Manager, if you want to start thinking about what's next, this is a high bar to clear again, but you did it to yourself. So, yeah. Thank you.
EV truck.
Councillor Robinson.
Thank you. I'd just like to say thank you to everyone that made this happen, especially my colleagues. When I was campaigning, we were wrestling with brownouts. And I mean, now we're talking about $10 million in new equipment with no brownouts. So I think we're going in the right direction, and I just say thank you to everyone that made this all happen. Thank you.
Councillor Gishia.
Thank you, Mayor Chow. Chief, it's unprecedented because a lot of timing is what changes everything. The time came, we had the money, and when we looked around, the advocacy from your department to all of us and yourself made this possible. If it wasn't for them making all those phone calls from behind the scenes and pushing and pushing and pushing and saying how they were unsafe and we needed to do something, those phone calls changed this department. And it's the advocacy of your department that helped us get to the manager and say, this isn't enough, we need more. I don't know how much Councilor Yem is being paid for an electric one to come, but whatever it is, he didn't get paid this week. But in all honesty, your department is hardworking and they save lives, and that's, we want to provide you with all the tools that we can to have a good environment over there, one that's strong, and hopefully this equipment does that for your department and understands that we are here for them as they are for us. And thank you again.
Thank you, Councilor.
Councilor Murcia?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. When any one of the councilors go around the city and we say to residents, what is your concern with the city? The number one answer they always give us is public safety. Public safety, number one. So we tried to add to that. So I'm very grateful for being a part of having the residents' wish come true. Public safety. We don't really think about a fire unless it happens to you or someone you know or you hear. There's a lot of fires lately. Public safety. And it isn't about just the residents, safety of the residents, safety of the people that we employ, the employees that have to go to the fire. We want them to have the best equipment. We want that vehicle to get there. We want it to be equipped with everything that's going to minimize displacing people out of their homes. So unless it happens to us, we don't realize the danger. So thank you very much for being in this profession to save lives and help people. So I'm very grateful to be a part of that. I know earlier, before I come up to the council chamber, you had a truck out there, like instead of touch a truck, I wanted to drive it, but you wouldn't let me. But it was such a great feeling to see state-of-the-art equipment for our people in the city and our employees. Thank you very much for sharing that with us.
Thank you.
Councilor Nguyen?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We are so thrilled, Chief. With the ARPA funding, we were able to do what we did. And your staff do need that. They put their life on the line for all of us, all of the residents in the city of Lowell. The least we can do is, feed them with the equipment that they can be able to do their job. The other things that I would ask the manager is that also is that this new fire truck is going to come soon. Please take a look at some of the firehouses that are in need of repair. It has been for years. So I would urge that this new fire truck need a firehouse that is decent enough and decent for our people that work there 24/7. So thank you.
Councilor Leahy?
Thank you. Again, yes, so we just want to say thank you to the council. The timing couldn't be better with the new manager and his team, and you, Chief. You're the right person at the right time.
Thank you.
And as long as certain people aren't driving the trucks anymore, we should be in good shape. So thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions from any of the council? Councilor Janess?
I would just like to remind Councilor Mercier that the city is in fact self-insured, so if you're going to commandeer a vehicle, just keep that in mind.
No other comments or questions? Mr. Manager?
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Through to the council. Chief Sharon, Assistant Chief Keen, Deputy Normandin, I just want to say thank you for all the hard work that you and your teams put together here, especially with the folks here on on our side, trying to figure this out. But it needs to be noted that we were once at $6 million, and this council pushed for more, and that's why we're at $10 million today. This council wanted to see more money spent. I can only say it's a complete game changer. Chief, when you were talking about 13 new vehicles, I want to make sure I'm correct on that. 13 new vehicles or let me say 13 new vehicles with 2.5 years and under by 2025. That is a game changer for this department. And to Councilor Noon, you are correct. We do have to start to concentrate on some of the assets that the city of Lowell has, and one of them being the firehouses throughout the city of Lowell. And the administration will be bringing something forward to the city council for discussion, because this is vitally important. It is time that we continue to spend money on the assets that we have throughout the city to ensure the safety of our residents. So the tip of the cap or the congratulations goes to this council that really, truly made this happen, and to the team of the chief and all of the folks that are working behind the scenes very hard to make this happen. We can't say it again, can't stress it enough. This is a game changer for this department, for this city, and the congratulations and the thanks goes to this council for making that happen. So thank you all very much for putting us in this direction.
I want to also say great news to the fire department, also great news for the entire city. The residents of Lowell can feel safer now with new apparatus, and the firefighters have the right equipment to do your job. So thank you for all your work. We now go to the next item. We jump around a little bit. We jump around a little bit. There's no more suspension of rules, so we now go back to where we left off on the communication from city manager, which are the motion responses. We'll now continue where we left off with alphabet B on Lowell Art. Councillor Yam, any comments or questions?
I have plenty, Your Honor. Mr. Mayor, I just want to first thanks Mr. Cruz for the report, and I really appreciate you bring out certain area in different city across the United States. And then you mentioned about the location. The City Hall Plaza may not be suitable, and I have no problem with that, and I will leave it up to you and the committee to do. However, in your report, you asked a question. The question for Lowell is, do we go literally with a Lowell sign or embrace a more symbolic approach as other cities have done? My answer to that would be, I would like to have the word Lowell, and I have placed the word Lowell in front of me so people at home can see what it looked like. I read an article, and if I may just read one paragraph of the article. The article talked about signs of time, similar to what we have here in the city of Lowell. Because in the age of social media, cities from Amsterdam to Toronto are recognizing the branding value of civic photo ops and making typography part of their urban topography. I have to look it up, learn how to spell that things. The article go on one paragraph saying that when Toronto create a 74-foot wide sign spell out the city's name for its turn as a host of Pan American Games in 2015, the installation was supposed to be a temporary, but then the 10-foot long tall letters went viral with a report of 120 million social media views the first year, and the talk of keeping them around exploded. One councilman even noted that the sign had become as popular as the town 1,815-foot CN Tower, North America's tallest structure. So to me, and I mentioned previously that I went to visit different cities. Cleveland, Ohio have more than one sign that spell out Cleveland. And then even ourselves as a tourist, we took a picture, we post in social media. So the city of Lowell have done a long time to market our cities. And what a better way to market without spending a lot of time or money. Because people come to Lowell after the folk festival, after the water festival, they want venture around to see all different, the attraction in the city of Lowell. So the letter of Lowell would be one of the attraction that eventually is going to, can explode and market the city of Lowell. So that's what my comment, and I appreciate your hard work on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor.
Mr. Crew?
I have
No comments?
No further comments.
Okay. If no other comments or questions, we'll now go to the next motion response, the alphabet C, on the Bicentennial Committee. Councillor Yam.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I was really happy and surprised to see that there is a committee already in place. And before I forget, Mr. Cruz also asked this council to vote allocating 100,000, and I would urge my colleague to do to support the allocation of 100,000 to celebrate the city bicentennial. And this money is not going to be enough to celebrate a 200 years anniversary of the city of Lowell. So by creating like a foundation that Mr. Cruz talked about, allow this foundation to receive donation fund from outside to continue the celebration. So whatever we talked about, my proposal creating a word letters, or in my motion about the neighborhood walk and everything, this is geared up toward the celebration of the bicentennial of the city of Lowell. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Robinson.
Thank you. I agree. I have to agree with my colleague on this. I think by the city taking the initiative to establish this account or this fund, I think it shows how serious we are and how committed we are to really providing something spectacular for the residents for the bicentennial. So I would encourage the city, if we can find any means to kick off this fund, let's do so. Thank you.
Any other comments? Councillor Yam? You second that?
Councillor Noon.
Yeah, Councillor Noon. I'm sorry, I'm just...
Thank you, Mr.
I'm looking straight at you, and I know there's something wrong my
No, it's okay.
short
It's okay.
circuit.
It's okay,
My
Mr.
apology, Councillor Noon.
No, I just want to comment, Mr. Mayor, for Peter Cruz, you know, the committee, the list of committee he has all together is very, very, very diverse. It's going to be a great event, giving all the diverse communities that we have in the cities and the list of people that be part of this committee. Thank you for doing that. Awesome.
Any other comments or questions on that motion response? We do have a few more items to cover before we reach. There's a couple of appointees in the chamber, and it's going to take a while for us to get there. So I would like to address a couple issues first, so they may go home. Thanks for being patient and staying in the meeting. The item number 5.5 and 5.6, I would like to have a motion to suspend the rule and take them out of order by Councillor Mercier, second by Councillor Leahy. I will read them both, and then if there's any discussion, we could take it separately. 5.5, communication, appointment of Marie Burns and Garrett Boulot to Conservation Commission. And 5.6, communication, appointment of Wendy Segal Body to Lowell Cultural Council. Any comments or questions by any of the council members? Hearing none, need a motion to adopt by Councillor Jeunesse, second by Councillor Gishia. Mr. Clerk, roll call, please.
No roll call needed on this, Mr.
Just,
I think we have people here.
Okay.
Maybe we'd like to introduce them.
Sure, we'll just vote on it first, and we'll introduce them to say something. On favor, say aye. Opposed, say no. The ayes have it. Motion is passed. Please.
Hi, my name is Wendy Siegelbody, and I am thrilled to be appointed to this committee. My whole background, anyways, has been in the arts. I have lived in Lowell my entire life. Anyways, I still live here. My family has been raised here. My daughter graduated from Lowell High. The diversity in the city is amazing. I think there is so much culturally to do in this city, and it is a pleasure to have the opportunity to work with a great group of people and to do some amazing things, anyways, for the arts in the city. So thank you.
I wasn't expecting this. So my name is John H. Nicholson Jr., and I appreciate the being appointed to the zoning board. So I thank you, Mayor, Manager, and Council. My family's been back and forth from Lowell. I was here several times myself, back again for my fourth time, so I appreciate it. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Marie Burns, and I am thankful to be part of the Commission of Conservation. I've been attending the meetings for almost about a year now on the regular, and I got to learn some of the members. I'm looking forward to working with Mrs. Barnum. I'm going to learn so much from them, and I'm happy to be here. So thank you.
Okay, for formality, we do need to do a roll call on the appointment of Mr. John Nicholson to the ZBA. That motion was already first and seconded, but we need to do a roll call. Mr. Clerk, do a roll call on 5.4, please.
Mayor Charles.
Yes.
Council Drinkwater.
Yes.
Council Getchia.
Yes.
Council Janess.
Yes.
Council Leahy.
Yes.
Council Mercia.
Yes.
Council Noon.
Yes.
Council Robinson.
Yes.
Council Rourke.
Yes.
Council Scott.
Yes.
Council Yem.
Yes.
11 yeas.
Wonderful. Congratulations to all of you, and thank you for working to support the city. We now will go back to where we left off on the communications, the motion response. On the alphabet D, on the Hellenic Academy, Councillor Yam.
I appreciate the report. Thank you so much. And I think the people at the Hellenic School are happy to hear that the city take a look at this. And the question I have would be the last one, because I'm asked about that. So how soon these recommendations can be implemented, Ms. Bays Rose?
Giovanni?
I'm actually going to kick it over to Liz Altman, our transportation engineer.
Thank you.
Good evening. Are you asking about the long-term improvements?
You mentioned the short term as far as, to get everything kind of reducing. So the short term, but also the long term, how long will it take?
Right. So the median sign is out there currently. We were able to get that right out. The flex posts will be put out hopefully in the next couple weeks when we put out the installation in front of City Hall. Then we will be able to do the curb ramps, and the crosswalk are to be done this summer with the contracts that we have progressing. And then the pavement markings will be restriped with our current contract. It's what we'd like to do is just gather up a whole bunch of things and have them only mobilize once and paint. So I have a big long list, which I should be providing to you shortly. And then long term is long term. That whole area has some safety concerns at the bridge. We know that bridges had some collisions. It's not very attractive with the barriers and things up right now. So that whole area needs to be looked at comprehensively when we hopefully we'll get some funding from the federal government to replace that bridge. Keep your fingers crossed. And then we'll be able to look at that whole area and just make it a lot safer for the school, the residents in that area, up to Suffolk Street. So we do want to address that comprehensively, which does mean a longer-term plan.
Yeah, I understand that. Thank you. And I just want to let you know that the school and folks that came up to speak on the motion, they expressed gratitude that the city is taking a look seriously at reducing the potential accident that may occur during the pick-up and drop-off of their children. So I just want to convey that, and thanks to you and the manager and his team for taking this seriously. Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilor Leahy?
Thank you. Right, couple questions. So when you say the bump outs, you're going to put at the beginning, at the corner and the end?
What I was thinking for right now in the temporary condition would just be at the crosswalk itself to highlight the crossing because it is mid-block. So we will put flex posts on either side of the crosswalk, kind of, if you can envision the gore area that's striped, so that it will kind of be either 4 or 6 right around the crosswalk there, and then right around the crosswalk on the other side, staying out of the driveway to the truck facility that's right there.
All right, so do they allow, like, so people stop in front of the school, drop the kids off and pull out? They're expected to pull in and pull out though, right? No parking?
They do walk their children in, and then they go
Why
pick them
can't-
up.
Well, shouldn't they set up a system where they're not parking there? If we're gonna work with them, why can't they? That should just be drop off and no parking, and that would eliminate a lot of safety issues.
That's their current procedure is the parents either park on that street or either park in front of the school or park on the side street, walk their children in because it's younger grades, and then they, same thing happens in the afternoon. They park along Broadway, they park along Worthen, go in, pick up their children, then they drive off.
Okay, and then just one other quick question. I know that we try to consolidate all these paint, the yellow markings.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have anybody to do that?
The police they have some of the equipment. I know they do the crosswalks downtown. I don't know what all of their capabilities are. So that we are mobilizing in May for the rest of the long line striping and the handwork. So if it was going to be a much longer time, then I would probably try and work with the police, but I figure we were close enough that we would be able to get it done in a month, so.
All right. And just one quick question through you to the manager. This is, this striping, the yellow striping, really isn't that much, and that's why, our sign department, we should be able to do that. I know we're having difficulties trying to replace people, but this really is something where we should be able to hire somebody that's out of work to work a spray machine, so.
Mr. Manager?
Is there any way we could get our police department to get that done? I mean, we really shouldn't wait a month. I mean, there's about 2 months left of school, but this is something that really just could be done this week if somebody knows how to operate that spray machine. So I don't need an answer now, but I just think that this is something we should be able to get done, have somebody go paint it and get it done. So I appreciate it. That's just my comments. Thank you.
There's no answer needed. Councilor Musia?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to the city manager and Elizabeth, are we saying that we're going to restripe the lines around the city, but we don't have a contract? We don't have a company that's going to come in and do that? And we're expecting the sign shop, there's only one person that works there. I was under the impression the street lines are going to be painted in the street. Now we don't have a company that's going to...
No, we do.
Mr. Manager,
Oh, we do have one.
We do have one that was under they're the same company that did a lot of the painting in August of last year. We're remobilizing to repaint things like Father Morissette and things that didn't get hit last. So we have somebody under contract. They're going to be coming out in May.
In May.
Yes, and then we have a separate contract that is underway to do a lot of crosswalk-specific striping in areas of the city that haven't been hit for a while.
All right, my heart was
I'm sorry if
palpitating.
was
That
unclear.
scared me. Thank you so much.
Mr. Manager?
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. And to follow up what Ms. Altman was saying, we just did hire a second person in the sign shop that started on Monday, so we can try to fast track this, Counselor. We'll talk to the sign shop tomorrow, but there are now currently 2 people there out of 3. So we are working towards that, but we do have 2 people working in that in the sign shop right now.
Councilor Robinson?
Thank you. Neighborhood group meeting I was at, we were told the city's looking to put on about 220 summer jobs combined with the career center. I think 40 or so aquatic related. I know when I was young, 16, 17, and that was a job through Summer Youth Employment and Training that the city would bring on kids 16, 17, 15, whatever. Maybe we look to some of those 170 plus summer jobs that we're looking to bring on and see, can they help out with our existing employees with some of these, you know, I mean, we do it in Tingsboro in-house. And if you can walk a straight line once you get the feel of the machine, I think that the professionals in the sign department could show these kids how to do it, and I think it might be a pretty good bang for a buck over the summer months.
Councilor Kishia?
Thank you, Mayor Chow. Through you to the manager. When I was in charge of the water department, we had students paint all the fire hydrants through the career center, so they actually paid for it, and we had kids paint every single fire hydrant in the city that year. So I think that, as Councilor Robinson said, it's absolutely doable. I think that they can pick that up pretty quick, so I think it's a great idea. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? I think that's it. Thank you. We now go to the last motion response. Alphabet E on AED. Councilor Rook.
I'll let Councilor Gitcha take it. Thank you.
Wonderful. Councilor Gishia.
Thank you, Councilor Rook. I just had a couple of questions. We just didn't see in the list the Parks Department having any AEDs or wastewater, and I'm sure there must be some there. But one other thing is the fields. You know, there's a lot of fields in the city parks that we just listed last week that we were doing all the work to, and I'm just wondering if there's a program going to be in place that we will have AEDs on those in those facilities.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Through to the council. Councilor, yes, we are working with the Adam Keenan Foundation, which is a foundation right out of here, in this, right from the city of Lowell. Adam's mom, Audrey, has been in contact with the city. And unfortunately, at this time, they're still working on getting some AEDs. So the interesting thing is the foundation donates them. So we are working, we are waiting to talk with them. Mr. Keenan unfortunately passed away. He was playing for the Seacoast Mavericks back in 2011, and his family has decided in his memory to create his long-lasting memory with these AEDs. So we are speaking with them. They're working tremendously hard through their inventory, trying to get some of the inventory. I know nobody wants to hear this, but we're still, chip manufacturers are still causing a little bit of a slowdown, but that is happening. And in this situation, they also have training that is completed by a nonprofit which is called Helpful Hands. So once we do receive these, there's an opportunity for us to have Helpful Hands come in and, maybe help some of the baseball leagues. But we're going to be making a decision rather soon. The Keenan Foundation has been fabulous with us, but we probably will need to see if there's any other second options out there. I know that we have Zoll Medical that I've worked with in the past over in Chelmsford. So we have a couple of balls in the air here juggling this, but it is something, Councilor, that we will be getting back to you. Currently, right now, I believe out of all of the fields, I believe there's probably 2 or 3 fields that have them, and they had them from year past. So the CFO and I have already been discussing the financial contributions. Even though we get this for free, we have to ensure that every year that they are updated, that the paddles are updated, and Health and Human Services would be pulling them in what I would say out in the fields in a cold area.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. I just, with Councilor Rourke and myself, would like to have the Keenan family come to the council and just thank them for their donations to the city. I think it's very important. If Councilor Rourke would like to second a motion, that would be great.
Motion, Councilor Kishia, second by Councilor Rourke. All in favor? Motion is passed. Any other comments or questions on this one? That complete the motion response. We're all taking up item 5.2. We're now going to go to item 5.3. This is the petition response on the handicap parking on Market Street. Mr. Manager?
Thank you, sorry about that, Mr. Mayor. My apologies. Ms. Altman did leave, but at this time, when we did look at this, this is something that cannot be done. What had happened, it's a good idea, but however, there is crosswalk right behind it. And in speaking with our transportation engineer, that is a recipe that we don't want to entertain. That is something that could be extremely dangerous with people pulling in and pulling out of a parking spot. So we are going to continue to look down in that area, but it, as noted here, that persons with any type of disability or a parking placard may park in any metered spot free of charge for an unlimited amount of time. But in this matter, we did go out and take a look at it. I actually happened to be down there, and because of the crosswalk being in that location, this would be a dangerous situation to put people in.
Any other comments or questions on that motion response? Hearing none, that completes the communication from the city managers. Need a motion to accept and place on file by Councillor Nguyen, second by Councillor Yam. On favor say aye, opposed say no. The ayes have it. Motion is carried. We skip around a little bit. I think we complete 5, 4, 5, 5, 5, 6 already. Councillor Robinson.
Can I make a motion to bundle 6.1 to 6.3, please?
Motion by Councillor Robinson to bundle 6.1, 6.2, 6.3. Second by Councillor Mercier. Before I read these three motions, Councillor, maybe I just take up one item that's right before that, so we don't skip around. So that's item 5.7. This is a communication to reappointment of Richard Lockhart to the Historic Board. Any comments or questions on this one?
Move approval.
By Councillor Gishia, second by Councillor Janess. Mr. Clerk, roll call, please.
Mayor Chow.
Yes.
Council Drinkwater.
Yes.
Council Gitchia.
Yes.
Council Janess.
Yes.
Council Leahy.
Yes.
Council Mercia.
Yes.
Council Noon.
Yes.
Council Robinson.
Yes.
Council Rourke.
Yes.
Council Scott.
Yes.
Council Yem.
Yes.
11 yeas.
Okay, the bundling 6.1, 6.2, 6.3 by Councillor Robinson. Who was the second on that, Mr. Clerk?
Council Mercia.
Councillor Mercier. 6.1, vote, accept, expend 3,300 scholarship from NACCHO, that's NACCHO. 6.2, vote, accept, expend $51,113 fiscal year 22 EMPG grant. 6.3, vote, authorize city manager execute agreements with NextAmp and Vanguard for 20 years. Any comments or questions by any of these votes? Hearing none, need a motion to adopt by Councillor Rook, second by Councillor Robinson. Mr. Clerk, roll call, please.
Mayor Chow.
Yes.
Council Drinkwater.
Yes.
Council Gitchia.
Yes.
Council Janess.
Yes.
Council Leahy.
Yes.
Council Mercia.
Yes.
Council Noon.
Yes.
Council Robinson.
Yes.
Council Rourke.
Yes.
Council Scott.
Yes.
Council Yem.
Yes.
11 yeas.
There was another vote that was on the agenda further down the line, which is item 7.3. I need a motion to take that out of order by Councillor Scott to take item 7.3 out of order, second by Councillor Drinkwater. And that is the vote to transfer $125,000 DPW, waive full reading and second reading by title. City of Lowell and City Council vote to transfer funds from the city manager's salary contingency account to support a new position in the Department of Public Works. Any comments or questions on that item? Councilor Gishia?
And thank you, Mayor Chow. Through you to the manager. With only 2.5 months left in the year, why would we need $125,000?
Mr. Manager? Through Mr. CFO?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So in this transfer, it's the funds are going in two different directions. One is into the DPW salary and wages for $25,000, and then the other $100,000 will be placed in the salary reserve to be held over for next year to fund the position.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, no other comments or questions? Need a motion to adopt by Councilor Mercier, seconded by Councilor Drinkwater. Mr. Clerk, roll call, please.
Mayor Chow.
Yes.
Council Drinkwater.
Yes.
Council Gitchia.
Yes.
Council Janess.
Yes.
Counsel Leahy.
Yes.
Counsel Mercia.
Yes.
Counsel Noon.
Yes.
Counsel Robinson.
Yes.
Counsel Rourke.
Yes.
Counsel Scott.
Yes.
Counsel Yem.
Yes.
11 yeas.
The next item on the agenda is item number 7, and 7.1 is the ordinance to extend outdoor seating.
Mr. Mayor, can we bundle
Finish
7.1
reading.
and 7.2, please?
I'm sorry, 7.1, 7.2. Motion by Councilor Robertson to bundle 7.1 and 7.2, second by Councilor Janess. 7.1 is the ordinance to extend outdoor seating to November 1st, 2023. 7.2 is the ordinance quarterly traffic, April 2023. Any comments or question on any of these two items? We just go from my right to left. Councilor
Thank
Garcia?
you. On the first one, to extend the outdoor seating to November 1st, what was it before? What was the date of termination before for that?
Through Mr. Manager to Giovanni.
October? October 1st?
I think so, yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through to the council. Council, I believe that was October 1st. We ran into a warm spell at that time.
Okay.
And we were just trying to extend it out.
Sure,
For the-
that's fine. I just was curious. Thank you.
Okay, any other, Councilor Leahy?
Question on the traffic report. The Maryland, Roger Street, Maryland Ave, Drive. I'm not gonna vote for that. I don't know why, you know, I live in that neighborhood. Traffic gets backed up. I don't know why I can't take a left-hand turn safely and go up into my neighborhood, so, you know, there's no commercial vehicles going up there that's posted for that. There's no reason to restrict people in the neighborhood from using their neighborhood streets.
Yeah.
I don't know why that keeps getting on there, but it does, so. Like to make a motion to take it out and further review, maybe.
Okay.
Yeah,
This is going to a public hearing. Still want to make a motion to take it out?
right.
Okay, Councilor Mercia, do you want to make a comment on that?
I'll
Or just
second.
that? Motion by Councilor Leahy. Was it 7.2, you want to take it out? And second by Councilor Mercia. And I think, any objection to that by any council member? Hearing none, we'll take the vote separately then on the motion on the floor by Councilor Leahy, second by Councilor Mercia. You want to make a comment on that?
So, yeah, so if it's going to go to a public hearing, should we let the public kind of chime in on it too? I'm just, out of curiosity, is that, maybe, you know, I know I've been around for a little while, but I've never heard that done before. Just take it before even a public hearing, or?
Maybe.
That's fair.
Yeah.
We could, we'll let it go to public hearing.
Public hearing now?
Sure, that's fine. Let it go to public hearing, then we'll make our comments then.
Okay, Councilor Leahy will withdraw the motion. Sure. Councilor Rook?
So I also have a comment on the ordinance, seating. So maybe I was wrong, but this past year, I thought it was really warm. We had a warm November, and didn't we kind of extend it? Is there any leeway in the ordinance if, you know, say, after November 1st, it's, you know, you have a week of 65, 70 degrees out, and is it a drop dead date of November 1st? I thought we went almost until Thanksgiving last year.
Giovanni?
That is correct. It would theoretically be a drop-dead date. So there is no flexibility based on the liability of insurance coverage for the restaurants, which was what ended up happening last year, where we got in a little bit of a hiccup when we were trying to, you know, provide people the opportunity to enjoy outdoor seating, you know, on a fluke kind of warm day. So we tried to extend it a little further to allow some accommodations for that, but the vote would essentially stop it firmly on that date.
Okay, well, at least people in businesses know, so it's fine. All right, thank you.
Any other, Councilor Janess?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm back on 7.1, the outdoor seating ordinance. And I wonder if we might be willing to consider a slightly different approach. I understand what the DPD director said about the insurance being a problem. But, you know, this week is going to be almost 90 degrees this weekend. I was out to dinner last night and at one of the restaurants with outdoor seating, and they were asking me, hey, can we use our patios yet? I said, no, because I believe the ordinance doesn't start until May 15th. So I'm wondering if we might take an opportunity to take a step back and look at this ordinance and extend it on both ends, but give the manager the opportunity to be able to, declare due to weather or whatever other concerns, shrink it. So say that the ordinance can begin April 1st and ends November 31st, but with 48 hours notice, the city manager can delay the start by up to 2 weeks, or end it early by 2 weeks if it's going to snow on either end, and then that way it gives the businesses the flexibility, but it also gives certainty to the dates for an insurance point of view, and then allows the manager some discretion as to whether or not we can have the patios open if the weather is appropriate.
Mr. Manager?
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Through to the council. Councils, I wouldn't mind going 12 months a year, to be quite frank and honest with you. And I'm gladly take this back to kind of give us more flexibility. One of the concerns we always have is the insurance of the restaurant owners, number one, but two, the barriers. The barriers that we put up in place is somewhat of a concern. So I'm just trying to think how to do this. We want to get this done as quickly as possible. Could we pass this now and revisit this before the end of this calendar year? I'm just trying to get it. I'm trying to get, I guess, from DPW's standpoint, when they put the barriers out, I don't want to stop the progress of that happening. We're actually going to be in the process of calling them and saying, when can they actually get that done? Assistant City Manager.
Yeah, I also just want to clarify that we have two separate sort of conversations that are happening regarding outdoor seating. So outdoor seating on the sidewalks, that season starts on April 1st. So if you have your sidewalk seating permit and that's something that you have and you have that furniture, the season has started for you already. And you can set that out. The sort of second piece, so sidewalk seating, April 1st, October 31st. And that's the dates can be adjusted, and based on comments from Councilor Janess, those are conversations that DPD would be happy to continue having. So that's specifically for sidewalk seating. The thing that we're looking to extend for outdoor seating is also sometimes referred to as streeteries, which is what was allowed during COVID in the parking spaces. Which does require mobilization from DPW, because we have set a standard where we want those Jersey barriers out to protect people in the roadway. And so, as the manager said, the effort to mobilize that and the potential for having snow flying, in April makes it a little harder for those seasons to align exactly at the same time. So what we're asking with this vote is nothing to do with sidewalk seating and only related to allowing us to extend the streeteries for another year under the system that we've been using for the last couple years. And DPD does hope to bring to this council a revamped version of outdoor seating and outdoor retail use that will consolidate these things so that next year it'll be one application, one program, and restaurants can tell us which one they want to use.
Councilor Janess, you all set?
Yes, thank you for that. As you said, the more we can simplify this, the better, and the more we can, synergize the dates as best as possible. I think that's just going to make it simpler for everybody. I don't want to stop this from going to a public hearing. I just wanted to make those comments, and maybe it's something we consider separately. But I'm fine with moving this forward. Thank you.
Councilor Robinson.
Thank you. After many conversations with the business owners, I think let's get this done as fast as possible. If this is the recommendation of the administration, we get this passed, and with asterisk or caveat that we revisit this and work with DPD. Thank you.
Okay, if no other comments, for both motion, which have been bundles, we need a motion to refer to public hearing on April 25th, 2023 at 7 p.m. by Councilor Janess, second by Councilor Drinkwater. All in favor say aye, opposed say no. The ayes have it. Motion is passed. We already taken up 7.3, We now go to section 8 on the agenda. This is the reports of subcommittee, and on 8.1, the Finance Subcommittee met on April 11, 2023. The chairperson is Councillor Scott. Any report, Councillor Scott?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to defer this to the next meeting, please.
Okay, wonderful. We will defer this to the next meeting. We now go to the next item on the agenda, which are the petitions. 9.1, claim 1 property damage.
Mr. Mayor,
Councillor Robinson.
motion to bundle 9.1 to 9.3, please.
Excellent motion. Councillor Robinson, second by Councillor Nguyen to bundle 9.1 through 9.3. 9.1, claim 1 property damage. 9.2, miscellaneous. Blanca Carter requests installation of handicap parking sign at 38 West 3rd Street. And the last motion, bundle 9.3, miscellaneous. Paola Sanchez, Imperial Multi-Service requests installation of overhanging sign at 1 East Meadow Road. Any comments or questions by any of the councilors? Hearing none, need a motion to refer to Law Department for report and recommendation by Councillor Rook, second by Councillor Yam. All in favor say aye, opposed say no. The ayes have it. Motion is carried. We are taking up 9.4. We now go to section 10 on the agenda, which are the City Council motions. We'll start with 10.1. Councillor Gishier requests City Manager have Law Department review all executive session minutes since January 2022 and recommend voting to release any minutes that no longer meet the guidelines to be held confidential. Second by Councillor Janess.
Motion speaks for itself.
Excellent start. All in favor say aye. Opposed say no. The ayes have it. Motion is carried. 10.2, Councillor Gishi and Councillor Janess request City Manager have the proper department provide an update on water main under the Beaver Street Bridge. Who would like to go first? Okay. Councillor Janess, you've been volunteering.
Thank you. I do mostly defer to Councillor Gitcher, who knows this stuff a lot better than I do. But apparently that water main has been out of service for a very long time. And now that we're replacing the bridge, the time is right to take a look at that and do the hydraulic survey and make sure that we can bring that back into service and provide some more resilience for the neighbors in that area with their water service. So if we could take a look at that, I think we'd both appreciate that. Thank you.
Any other comments? Councillor Gishier?
Yeah, and I agree with Councillor Janess that when years ago that water main was shut off on both sides, and with the university on one side and many residents on the other, it could be a good isolation point to be able to feed back and forth. So I agree with the hydraulic modeling and just see if it's apt to be done. Thank you.
No other comments or questions? All in favor say aye. Motion is passed. Motion 10.3 is a motion by Councillor Yam who requests City Manager have proper department create Lowell beautification program to recognize home and business owners who make Lowell an even nicer place to live by creating and maintaining beautiful landscaping. Second by Councillor Scott. Councillor Yam.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Last week, the city introduced the manager's neighborhood impact team that focus on mostly homes that fail to keep the minimum care of their property. So I would see this motion as part of the neighborhood manager's neighborhood impact maybe initiative, focus on the homes and businesses that are creating and maintain a beautiful landscaping lawn, and for businesses their appearance outside. So the manager can take this as focus on this beautification. And this is a contest where homeowner can nominate their home, or business can nominate their business, or the neighbors who saw this beautiful lawn maintained by their neighbors and want to nominate that home for this program. There will be a panel of judges that will pick winners from each district who will then receive a small gift card from Home Improvement Store, along with a yard sign that's recognized their home as the first, second, or third place winners. So the winners of home and business owner will be honored at the City Hall, Mr. Mayor, at the City Council meeting with the citation. And I think this is really help neighborhood improvement. Thank you.
Any other comments? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Motion is passed. The next motion is 10.4. Councillor Yam requests city manager have proper department create Lowell neighborhood bicycle and walking maps, both in print and digital form. Second by Councillor Rourke. Councillor Yam.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Last week we heard the children from the Wang Middle School talked about the bike lane, and I filed this motion before the children from the Wang School spoke. And the point is that I would like to see that the city create a map similar to other cities and towns throughout the country. And I put one map that put out by the city of Columbus. They have it in a PDF format that they can download, and providing a bike map. And in there, it has some information that I thought it would be useful. I'm looking at this as the future that will part of the bicentennial celebration. People who come to Lowell, they want to know the neighborhood, you know, like the acres, like downtown, and things like that. So that's the gist of the motion. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
No other comments. All in favor say aye. Motion is passed. Motion 10.5, also by Councillor Yam, request city manager have the proper department work with Lowell Latino community and stakeholders to identify and recognize a certain section in the acre as Land Latino Town or any other names the communities deem appropriate. Second by Councillor Mercia. Councillor Yam.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I look at this as the economic development, that portion of the city to recognize the Latino community and businesses, and hopefully by having designation, certain section will increase the businesses, and part of the map that previous motion, it will include all these businesses along the way in the acre. If you pull up a map, you travel and there's a restaurant along the way, that will be as part of economic development to promote more businesses and visitors who come to the city of Lowell. Thank you.
No other comments. On favor say aye. Opposed say no. The ayes have it. Motion is carried. The next motion is a motion by Councillor Nguyen to request the city manager provide a report on the status of triennial inspection of rental properties as adopted in 2012. Second by Councillor Robinson. Councillor Nguyen.
Mr. Mayor, the motion speaks for itself.
That's a great comment. Thank you, Councillor Nguyen. On favor say aye. Councillor Mercia.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On that motion, are we on a relist and reval right now? It's not a triennial. We're not. Are we?
Mr. Manager?
Well, are we on anything right now? I don't know if it's so it's not a triennial reval, is?
Mr. Manager?
Which is 3 years, but in a relist and remeasure, what is that, 5? Are we on any of that right now? We're not. I don't know.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to the council. Council, no, that's now been moved to a 5-year relist and reval, and the last one was done 2 years. I believe it was 2 years ago. As I last recall. So we would be, I guess, another 3 years out before a relist and reval happens.
Because I thought I was talking to someone that talked about something like a relist and remeasure, that something about, I thought that's what we were in right now, but we're not.
Councillor Nguyen, you might have some insight into this. Councillor Nguyen?
No, actually, I think back in 2012, we have adopted the triennial, right? So was it amended to every 5 years?
Mr. Manager?
Sorry, thank you, Mr. Mayor, through you to the council. 2 different pieces. The 3-year council that you're talking about, that's still in play.
Right.
Councilor Mercy is talking about the reval because of measurements and kind of similar, but two different items. That's Councilor. That's something I could speak with our assessor's office, but I think we're 2 years into the new 5-year cycle. But I can get that answer for you.
I thought the relisted remeasure was every 6 years. I thought that was every 6 years. What is it, 5 years now? All right, thank you. Just wondering.
Yeah, good questions. Any other comments? Councillor Nguyen, are you all set? Okay. No other comments. All in favor say aye. Opposed say no. The ayes have it. Motion is carried. The next motion is also by Councillor Nguyen. Request city manager update the city council on the status of the redevelopment of the Healthworth building at 45 Merrimack Street. second by Councilor Leahy. Councilor Nguyen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The motion speaks for itself.
Thank you, Councilor. On favor say aye, opposed say no. The ayes have it. Motion is carried. The next motion is a motion by Councilor Robinson.
Mr.
requesting-
Mayor, can I motion to bundle 10.8 to 10.11? Because they all speak for themselves.
Great motion on paper, great motion on the floor. A motion by Councilor Robinson to bundle 10.8 through 10.11, and the motion speaks for itself as well.
Yeah.
Second by Councilor Yam.
Your Honor, could you just explain 1010 though?
Okay, let me
Make
read
the motion.
read this first, then we take the motion out to speak on individually if you wish. Motion 10.8, Councilor Robinson requests city manager have the proper department provide a detailed report on scope and timeframe of open space improvement art installation projects for Centerville in 2023 calendar year. 10.9, Councilor Robinson requests city manager have the proper department provide a report on the feasibility of utilizing Riverwalk area as an outdoor art craft exhibit function space. Motion 10.10, Councilor Robinson requests city manager have the proper department provide an update on Lowell High School elevator near ROTC. And the last motion bundle by Councilor Robinson is 10.11 to request city manager have the proper department provide a report on how many employees are trained to maintain and install soccer, lacrosse, field hockey, baseball, and softball fields, including replacement of home plates, pitcher's mounts, full marker pegs, as well as scratching fields and line striping. Who is providing the training? What is the weekly assignment of maintaining athletic fields? And how many employees are tasked with the routine maintenance? Councilor Leahy, you had a question on one of the motions?
Yeah, could the maker of the motion just explain 1011?
Councilor Robinson?
10.11?
1011, correct.
So I'd like to see exactly what I'm asking here from the manager. The proper department will provide a report on how many employees are trained to maintain and install. So we have, I think it's $140,000 redo of the baseball field project currently underway. And I'd like to make sure, once that ever gets finished, I want to know what we're doing to maintain long-term in-house. And it doesn't just apply to the baseball and softball, because we also have lacrosse, field hockey, soccer. In regards to the baseball, home plates and pitching mounds get worn out. We used to make them in-house and replace those periodically as needed. Sometimes they get ripped out in the middle of the night, kids playing. I mean, it's part of maintenance. Foul marker pegs, again, that's routine maintenance. Scratching the fields with the Smithco machines and line striping, routine maintenance, and getting ready, especially for opening days. We used to chalk the fields, get the batters boxes ready, mark the infield, and usually the leagues would go out and do their own outfield as far as line striping. But in order to do all of this maintenance, I'd like to know who's providing the training, what's the weekly assignment of those maintaining the athletic fields to see how, do we realistically have enough manpower to maintain 24 fields weekly? And how many employees are tasked with the routine maintenance on this? So I think that's pretty self-explanatory.
All right. No. Okay, so I just want to make sure, because I know that, like a lot of our departments, we're not properly staffed. It's been an issue over the last 15 years. We've been making cuts and cuts and cuts, and we can't maintain all of our parks and fields. So I just want to make sure that, that through the manager's office, that's part of the report. Do we have enough staffing? Will we be hiring more staffing? And I just wanted to say, as a senior counselor on this council, I don't appreciate some of the comments that have been made on social media about the department heads in the departments, and I think it's the wrong way to go about things. So with this motion, it looked like it was taking a shot, and I just want to make sure that we're all on the same page when we get this report. Thank you.
So I'd like to comment on this. Again, anytime I bring up maintenance related to whatever department, we get this kind of stuff thrown out there. If you're going to include this, and I'm open to amending this motion, so if we're going to include this, I want to go back 7 years. I want to see how many employees we had, and if we've had a number of parks increased in that same time span, because we have more employees now with better equipment, to be honest. That's responsible for this. So I'd love to see that included in the motion. That's part of the motion my colleague wanted to open up. And as far as any comments outside of this motion, I don't even understand how that has anything to do with this motion. It's being brought up.
Instead of going back and forth, because we're pushed with time, we do have executive session later on. I will get to you, Councilor Mercy, in a bit, but just to clarify, Councilor Robertson, you want to put a specific time frame? You want to
7 years. Let's go back 7 years. I'd like to see how many employees were responsible
And what years
for
next?
maintaining the ball fields, and has the number of ball fields responsible for increased over that same period?
Okay, so Mr. Clerk can take down the right for the note. What year do you have in mind? Going back 7 years. Councilor Robinson?
What's that?
Going back 7 years to 2000?
7 years.
Specific, Mr. Clerk, that'd be okay? Leave it open end like that? Okay. Right, Councilor Mercia?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to the city manager. Mr. Manager, if you could just make a note of this, since we're talking about parks. There's a park, Calorie Park in the Highlands. The ball fields have names on them. There's one ball field that is the Barrett Field, and there's no name there. And members of the family go there and they clean up, and there's no sign there indicating Barrett Field. I think we should get it up there. And I don't know what happened to it, but it's not there. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions on the bundle motions? Hearing none, all in favor say aye, opposed say no. The ayes have it, motion is carried. The last, second to last motion is a motion by Councilor Mercier, that's item number 1012. Request neighborhoods subcommittee meet to discuss ADUs and get residents' views about the subject of having them throughout the neighborhoods. Second by Councilor Drinkwater. Councilor Mercier.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I did get a lot of emails indicating that this ADUs went to the zoning, but it never went to the neighborhood, and there's a lot of people that wanted time to be able to speak at it. This motion is to refer it to the neighborhood subcommittee, on which we already made an appointment. So the neighborhood subcommittee is next Wednesday, the April 19th, not this week, but next week, Wednesday, April 19th at 6 o'clock. That's when our neighborhood subcommittee will strictly talk about ADUs. You want to come up and speak, I will give you a couple of hours or whatever time it takes for everybody to come and give their opinion. And we're going to meet at the mayor's reception room, just so everybody knows. Thank you so much.
Any other comments? Hearing none, all in favor say aye, opposed say no. The ayes have it, motion is carried. We do have on the agenda the executive session, and given the time, we have like 13 minutes. What's the wish of the body? You want to recess from the main chamber here to go to executive session? Or maybe I should ask Mr. Manager, the executive session, any items in there that's time sensitive that we have to meet tonight? That should take 5 minutes? Okay, I think we have enough time, if that's okay with the body to take a recess from the chamber. We're going to go to take a vote to go to executive session? Oh, sure. Okay, so before we take a vote on the executive session, any councilors have any announcements? Any announcement? No announcement. I do have one. I'll make it quick because I know we're pressed on time. Just told one of the councilors. So I want to wish everyone a happy Southeast Asian New Year. It's Cambodian, Thai, and Laos, and other Southeast Asian countries as well. And this is the year of the rabbit. The year of the rabbit is for longevity, peace, and prosperity. And the people who are born under the year of the rabbit are 2023, 2011, 1999, 1987, 1975, 1963, 1951, 1939, 1927, and go much older. You don't have to be born under that specific year. If you're friends with anyone born under those years, you have to wrap it. You also get lucky as well. Longevity, peace, and prosperity be with everyone. Councilor Nguyen?
Mr. Mayor, while you're on it, the Cambodian New Year's, the April 14 flag raising, Mr. Mayor, down there. Low public school and charter school and other entities, and even your office is involved in it. So it's April 14.
Okay. Councilor Mercier?
With that, I say, sua sade to chum to me. That's it.
Excellent, Councilor. Okay, so now what we're going to do, we're going to executive session, and we are going to adjourn after the executive session. We are not coming back to the chamber for the regular meeting. So the executive session is 11.1, to consider and discuss the city's potential participation in the Attorney General's opioid settlement, public discussion of which could have a detrimental effect on the city's position, and further to discuss strategy and contract negotiations on the collective bargaining agreement with union personnel, public discussion of which would have a detrimental effect on the city's bargaining position. Need a motion to accept by Councilor Jeunesse, second by Councilor Mercier. Mr. Clerk, roll call, please.
Mayor Chow.
Yes.
Councilor Drinkwater.
Yes.
Councilor Getchia.
Yep.
Councilor Jeunesse.
Yes.
Councilor Leahy.
Yes.
Councilor Mercier.
Yes.
Councilor Noon.
Yes.
Councilor Robinson.
Yes.
Councilor Rourke.
Yes.
Councilor Scott.
Yes.
Councilor Yim.
Yes.
That's 11 yeas.
Again, we will adjourn from the executive session. I want to wish everyone a good night, and again, Happy New Year.